This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
I have to break it to you. I normally record this show pantsless.
And Rich Crage.
My God, just play along with it. It's wrestling, man. Just let yourself go for a minute. And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. What do you want to talk about, Joe? What's on your mind?
So what do you guys want to talk about?
A little 2A dub. A little Daichi Hashimoto. I've watched a lot of Big Japan lately, but I guess we can have some Big Japan talk. Yeah, not much.
There actually was a big-time Big Japan match.
Oh, there you go. Great. I didn't watch it, but I'm sure it was great.
I'll write about it. I think it was Yuji Okabayashi versus, or was it Sekimoto? Well, it's probably
one of the two. Yeah, I was going to say, to flip a coin, you're probably right. So
against Irie, Shigehiro Irie.
Okay. All right.
I've got it in the queue, and there'll probably be a written review on that. But obviously, the order of business is the AEW drama, Rich.
Really? Okay. All right. Because we have Clash at the Castle.
We do.
A show that I definitely watched. NXT Worlds Collide, a show I also absolutely watched. Noah's running the Tokyo Dome, so I thought we were going to do an extensive recap of the last time Noah was at the Tokyo Dome, Destiny 2005. We might actually still do that. That might still actually happen. And Royal Rumble is going to be taking place from the Alamo Dome. So
with the N1 final.
The N1 final, of course.
Did you watch that? No.
Look. It's been a week. It's been a week. It's hard to fit time in to watch other wrestling when the wrestling world is exploding around you and you're trying to figure out what's going on and all this sort of stuff. So I admit my viewing of other wrestling has been pretty poor this week. So,
well, someone on this show watched it all.
Thank you for carrying the load here. We're doing this a day early, to be fair. Usually my day is Wednesday and then Thursdays, but somebody wants to watch the St. Louis Rams. They won the Super Bowl, right? St. Louis Rams, right?
The St. Louis Rams haven't existed for 6 years.
They do in my heart. God damn it.
They did win the Super Bowl, some 22 years ago, if that's what you're referring to.
That is what I'm referring to, yeah. Are they doing like a reunion show with that?
No, they had the 20th anniversary.
Corey Holt's going to show there. He's going to hang out. Who's the kick returner? I always like that guy. Who's the fast kick returner guy?
Tony Horn?
No, he had a cooler name than that. He might have. Honestly, he may have been in the not in the 1999. He may have been the team that lost to Tom Brady.
Tony Horn was 100% the kick returner on the 99 Rams.
No, it's not the 99 Rams guy. It's whoever I would have used in Madden. It was not.
Are you possibly referring to Az-Zahir Hakim?
Yes. Thank you.
He was a punt returner, sir, not a kick returner.
I apologize.
And number 3.
Was he on the team then? Was he on the team at that time?
He was on the 99
There you
team,
go.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, I'm right. Ish.
Yeah. He wore number 81, and then he left as a free agent for the Saints, and then Torrey Holt switched from 88 to 81. I could do Rams history all night.
We might have to. I mean, there's not a ton else going on, so I think that might be time for Rams history. A topic I can't tell you anything about the current Rams or the ones that just won the Super Bowl, but I can talk about Dexter McLeon all day if you want. Like, yeah,
Dexter McLeon. Now that's a pull. That is a pull. I can't believe you know who Dexter McLeon is.
Of course I know who Dexter McLeon is. Yeah, I used to play. Those are my formative.
I know.
Those are my formative Madden years, man, and that was a formative Madden year team. I mean, that's a team I used constantly. They were good, which helped. They were also, every player was fast. The defense was great. Offense was great. The team should have won a Super Bowl if you ask me, but at least more than one. But they won more than one, I guess.
Wow, you're just
Everybody knows Adam Archuleta, though. That's not a big pull, right? If you give Adam
Nothing's
Archuleta.
Good enough for you. Archuleta was on the 2001 team that lost to the Patriots. He was not on the 99 team.
Got it. Okay, there you go. But was Dexter McLean? He was on both.
Yes.
Okay. Who was? There's a linebacker I used. I can't believe we're doing this.
London Fletcher.
The London. Thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue. I was gonna get London Fletcher, but
I'm helping you out
because I always played as I don't know what you if you chose a position on the Madden field, but I was always the middle linebacker. I don't know if you were like one of those lame asses that picked like defensive tackle and just let the computer do it all, or defensive end or whatever. I was always middle linebacker. So
would depend on the down and distance what I would pick.
Okay, that's fair.
So sometimes I like to take the free safety.
That's
and roam
so risky, though. It's so risky.
It is, but Rich, I had what they called stick skills.
Oh my god. Okay, one sec. Shut up. Trunk Candidate, is that a guy?
Trunk Candidate was, he was on the 2001 team, but not on the 99
Okay,
team.
see, I think my formative years are the 2001. I don't know anything about that 1999 team, so.
He, Trunk Candidate probably had about 99 speed on Madden.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I made him and Hakeem the kick returners, and that was a real tough combo with Trunk Candidate and Azahir Hakeem. I think I also put Trunk at, like, my lead wide receiver, because you just do, like, slant, and he would just go. And, if you got it to him, he'd run away from everybody else. Yeah. Trunk
a much maligned draft pick.
Not as good in real life as he was in Madden.
Well, people felt like he was just drafting another offensive toy when the team had other, which is exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's your stroll down the 2001 Rams
as you all wanted to.
Memory lane.
But yeah, that's why I didn't watch shit, because you took one of my watching days away from me, so you could watch your stupid. They getting the rings? Are they putting up a banner?
Probably. I'll be there at kickoff.
Okay, you don't watch all that stuff. You don't really care about like the 2.5 hours of guys getting rings.
For the gimmicks. I want to watch the game.
Massive rings that they could barely wear on their hands. So AEW, Joe. A few things happened in there in that company. So
ludicrous. But yeah, no. Very excited.
All right, let's get to the matter at hand here. All Elite Wrestling show. Some things have happened. We did an instant reaction live immediately following AEW All Out on Sunday. At that time, we knew, oh boy, there's some stuff happening. CM Punk had a bit of a tirade in the media scrum press conference, and people weren't that happy, and things were going on, and yada yada yada, and that little by little, things trickled out to now where we are here on Wednesday. We are doing this show, of course, in the midst of AEW Dynamite. We'll have that on in the background, so we can follow up with any big news that comes up. This is one of those weeks. Are you allowing spoilers once again in the No Dope chat room for Dynamite? Now, I'm watching it. I can see most of the things, but the listeners do want to know: are they allowed to spoil things on the No Dope chat room?
We watched the first half hour where all of the pertinent news that we're going to need has already occurred. I would say that if there's something important in terms of all the controversies that are swirling, then yeah, they can feel free in the chat to discuss that.
Okay, so there you go. So if something new comes up and you find something out about all this turmoil going on, not necessarily the show, we'll have the show on, we'll know. But I'm with you. I think we've seen the big part of the show already has probably passed, and now we're just like kind of a business as usual show for the rest of the way. But business as usual as they vacate 2 major titles and have a tournament in the midst of there. But that's where we're at these days with AEW and with wrestling. That is a just a normal run of the mill show. But yeah, things have gotten wild since Sunday. Little by little, news trickling out. While we were doing the show, there was a little bit of a, hey, the Young Bucks may have gotten into a bit of a tussle with the CM Punk, and maybe Kenny Omega was available. And then, no, there's black eyes, and this guy's hurt. And we had no idea. And it all kind of, on Monday, started trickling out. And then, of course, on Tuesday is when everything really started getting going. And now today we have some additional news here. So I'm going to read from a Sports Illustrated report from Justin Barrasso.
I think it might be better just to start with what the Dynamite's the latest. Maybe we should start there with what Tony Khan had to say. So Dynamite opened up, and as expected, Khan, he announced early in the day he would make the statement. So this is interesting because they announced that the world title and the trios titles were vacated. Now, I watched the first half hour of the show. I watched Khan speak. No one has said CM Punk the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega by name, at least in the half hour that I watched, unless I missed.
No, I have not heard them yet. They were not in the intro video as well.
Right, and Khan didn't give a reason why these titles were being vacated. If you woke up out of a coma to watch Dynamite, you would have no idea why CM Punk and the Elite have been stripped of these titles, because they haven't mentioned them by name, and they did not tell us why these titles were now being vacated. So then Khan went on to announce the Death Triangle versus Best Friends would happen tonight to fill those titles, and then the brackets for the World Title Tournament, which will culminate with the final on Grand Slam with Hangman versus Bryan Danielson tonight, Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin on Rampage.
I hate to interrupt you, but Mr. Castor has entered the building. Let's let me see what he's got to say about some matters. Oh, he's been interrupted by Swerve. Never mind. All right.
It's a lot of pressure on Max Caster.
Yeah, I think they gave him a solid and said, you know what, pal? He came out and did, yo, listen, and then Swerve came out to interrupt him. So I think he was sitting there. He had a writer's block all day, being like, what can I say? What can I do? I was wondering, man, that guy was probably tossing and turning all day of like, oh dear God, what am I going to do? So, no, it looks like they did him a solid and said, take a week off there, pal. Take a week off. So.
Yeah, so then Jericho and Moxley receiving first-round buys. Jericho faces the winner of Hangman Bryan Danielson, which is later tonight if you are listening live. And then Moxley faces the winner of Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. I didn't catch the date on those two matches.
Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin is on Rampage this Friday.
That's on Rampage,
this coming
yeah,
Friday.
but I meant the next round. I don't know.
Those are going to be next week in Albany, so yeah, be the 14th.
They're both going to be on Dynamite?
Yeah, both on Dynamite on the 14th, and then the finals at Dynamite Grand Slam.
Yeah. And then, the final is on Grand Slam, right? So TK announced that, and again, he gave no reasons for the titles being vacated. Then he gave a little bit of a rah-rah speech. He said these are going to be very exciting weeks, all that, and was very positive in what he had to say, while not naming the particulars by name and not giving a reason that the titles were all of a sudden up for grabs. The announcers did not give a reason that the titles were now vacated. MJF comes out. He gets the huge babyface ovation. He's wearing the Buffalo Bills jersey. He cuts a very disingenuous babyface promo, but the fans are just going with it because they're just excited to see him. And he said he was just kidding about all of the terrible things he said about the company before and all that. Finally, Mox comes out, calls him out for being disingenuous. The facade comes down, and he admits that he's still the same old asshole that we've always known. Mox challenges him to a fight, and of course, MJF takes a powder and gets out of there. And then Mox cuts a very impassioned promo. You could tell that he put all his heart and soul into this thing.
Yeah, that was the hero speech. The MJF was kind of the fake hero speech, as he said, I'm going to be your hero. I'm going to lead you through the dark times or whatever. And then he obviously was revealed very quickly as being a fraud. Insert Jon Moxley, who comes in and cuts that hero's promo. And that was, that's a tough spot to be in. MJF is in a semi-tough, but people are just going to, he's coming back for the first time. It's the first time people have seen him in months. He's coming back as kind of the hero who didn't leave and stayed or whatever. So he could have pretty much said anything, and he is MJF. So it's like he's incredible on the mic, and that was an all-time great promo from him. But the Moxley one, there was a lot of pressure on Mox to deliver truly let's all huddle in and get this thing, get through these dark times and move on and move forward and be better. And it felt like that. He nailed every single thing. That is the guy you bring out there, is Jon Moxley, to kind of rally the troops, so to speak, and rally the fans together. And yeah, he did he knocked it out of the park. He did a tremendous job.
All right. So yeah, I talked for about 90 seconds, but apparently nobody heard anything. So I'll do my best to just repeat my point, and then maybe we could chop this thing up for the for the non-live listeners later.
Yeah, of course.
But no, all I was saying is in terms of opening up the Dynamite show, I thought they just did an outstanding job. MJF was outstanding. I thought Moxley was tremendous. They were very careful as well not to mention CM Punk by name. There were references towards Moxley being put to sleep and things like that. But again, it's conspicuous that they're not naming these people that are suspended by name. But I thought Moxley was outstanding under the circumstances. They couldn't have done a better job at opening up the show. The crowd was hot. Both promos knocked it out of the park. we're going to pivot towards Moxley MJF now, which is a shame. I feel bad for MJF because this long-term story with Punk will probably never see a conclusion at this point, or there's a good chance it will never see a conclusion. Although there are no confirmed reports he's fired, but I guess we'll get into all that in a minute. I feel bad for Tony Khan. He probably had this long-term plan and vision for MJF and Punk, and that'll probably, we may never see that play out. Moxley was supposed to take some time off after losing the title, but, he's being a leader, and I thought there was a lot of passion in his promo, and there was a report that Moxley, Danielson, and Jericho did lead a talent meeting. So those are the guys that are stepping up and taking control of the room. And I think we saw a big-time example of that with Moxley and what I thought was just an absolute home run promo out of him.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was a huge fan. I mean, obviously MJF, his promo was fantastic too. But in the end, it's still the old MJF. He's still always going to be heel. Whenever they're ready to turn that guy into like an uber mega babyface, though, they can absolutely do it, and we're right on the cusp of doing it. But to me, he feels very much like the late 1998 Rock at this time, where the guy who was still a heel, but like fans were starting to realize, wait a minute, this guy's like really awesome. This guy's great at everything he does, and maybe we need to start cheering him a little bit more. And it'll take a little bit until I think they're fully ready to turn him babyface, and he's such a tremendous heel. But whenever they do want to do the babyface run with MJF, it's gonna be mega business. But there's a lot more money to be made with him as the heel, so I'm perfectly fine with that happening for a little bit longer. But just a tremendous promo. Go ahead.
Let me present this to you before we get into the rest, because we're going to get into the news, of course. But I'm watching these promos from MJF and Moxley, and I'm watching the first half hour of Dynamite, which was just outstanding, if not a little weird. And tell me if you feel the same way that I felt, in that I almost feel like there's a giant unspoken element or elephant in the room that has been removed. And is it possible that this was a very awkward Band-Aid that just needed to be removed with all of this drama, and that maybe this will almost rally this roster, which has been much maligned over the summer, because this is hardly the only backstage skirmish that we've seen. There's, all of the talk of so many people back there who aren't getting along. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise for this company. And maybe with these veterans that are rallying the troops, and with the energy that I'm feeling on this episode of Dynamite, that this ends up being some kind of weird positive for this company.
Oh, it's very likely.
What's your take on that?
No, and I had the exact same thought. And we've talked about this with AEW in the past, that there has been times of great turmoil in this company in the short time that this company has existed, and more times than not, it comes out with like a very, very good shows, people trying harder, everybody kind of working their ass off. It feels you would assume that, and it's going to come to a point sometime soon, I'm sure, and it does with every company where that. You don't have the energy to do it anymore. You don't have the energy to reset and, okay, rally everybody. All right, come on, let's do it. Like, what I mean? There's going to come a point where that's just going to get exhausting, and then that's going to drag you down. WCW entered that point too, where there were so many times that guys could say, all right, guys, come on, let's do this. Or it's like, all right, nothing's going to happen, dude. This thing's over. This thing's done. AEW hasn't had that yet. AEW had, remember when Cody left? Which happened this year, by the way, in 2022. Remember that? Remember when Vince McMahon had a sex scandal? That was this year too. It was only a couple months ago. So 2022, Cody leaves, and I don't know if you remember the episodes immediately after that, or especially the episode, because like he had left, and then a couple days later, that Dynamite episode after he debuted at WrestleMania was fucking awesome, and like everybody you could tell was working their asses off to just kind of say, hey, you know what? We don't need that guy. We're fine. We got enough people here. We got enough horses here. We're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. And I'm getting a very similar vibe with this episode of Dynamite. And I got a very similar vibe with the pandemic Dynamites too, where it was like, all right, look, this something is thrown at us that we're no way we're going to be able to figure this out or navigate this. We have no idea what's down the line. But you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. Let's just prove that we can do this, prove that we're going to survive, prove that this isn't going to stop us. And there were some really, really, really fun shows immediately after, when the pandemic hit and they were in QT's gym, and then when they went to Daly's place or whatever. And really that the company kind of for the next year rallied behind the pandemic, and then they rallied behind Cody leaving. And now it does kind of feel like they are rallying behind the loss or the suspensions, or like you said, whatever we want to clarify that, whatever we want to call it right now, whatever it is, like it does, there's definitely a palpable energy with this episode of Dynamite that we have so far, and it might be a thing where, and I don't know if it's solely CM Punk, if it's CM Punk and the Elite. For some people, it's maybe the Elite. Maybe for some people, it's both. Maybe for some people, it's just it just needed to all burn down for them to realize, wait, what are we doing? Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this is like, why are we doing this? Like, what are we doing here? And sometimes you do have to do that. Sometimes you do need that kind of slap in the face. And maybe this last month or two, where everything has seemingly gone wrong and everything's been all over the place and everybody hates each other and all that sort of stuff, it culminates in this, backstage fracas or fight or whatever you want to call it. And maybe this is the great reset where everybody just realizes, wait, what are we doing here? Come on. Like, we have a lot of talented guys here. We have a chance to do something special here. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Let's just go unified front. Let's make this happen. And again, that might have a shelf life. That might only last a little bit until guys start being wrestlers again and start doing these sort of things. But maybe this is good. Maybe this is healthy, like you said, to kind of rip that Band-Aid off and even if it's a Band-Aid or they had to burn it down or whatever it was that needed to be. But no, I'm right with you. I can absolutely feel that palpable energy from that first hour of Dynamite. And I don't know, like obviously I'm watching it here without the sound on, so I can't tell you what, but it does feel like a very passionate show. And there seems to be enough horses on the show to withstand whatever loss of however long these guys are going to be out, if it's forever or
they
whatever.
They have enough stars.
Of course,
that's not a problem. But it feels like watching that first half hour, I was like, wow, it's like a dark cloud has been lifted.
Yeah.
And there's sort of been this energy in the company where things were about to break, and they broke. And now sort of this dark cloud, this bad energy has sort of dissipated. So this could end up being some kind of weird positive for them, that now they can kind of put this weird period of the company behind them. But I guess now would be a good time to get into sort of the news portion of this, as there seems to be there was news trickling out all over the last 48 hours or so, and finally today. Now look, there's still, as of this live show, no confirmation that anyone has been fired. That doesn't mean that no one will be fired. And there are tons of rumors out there that Punk is done. And maybe what's delaying that announcement, working out a settlement, because obviously he's got some time on his contract at a very high, pricey rate. The legalities with everything that went down. So this might not be just the kind of decision that you want to rush into. So that could be the holdup there. Or maybe he won't be fired. And maybe the fact that he got injured in the match might be a little blessing in disguise, since he wasn't going to be around anyway. And maybe all parties have been able to work something out where he just disappears for a while, takes a suspension, and comes back after sort of the dust clears. We don't know. So, Rich, what do we know for sure, though? What has been reported and is definitive?
All right, so here's what we got, and this was from Sports Illustrated, Justin Barrasso this morning. I think the best and the clearest report on this morning. That it's from Sports Illustrated as well. You can look it up, just Barrasso, Sports Illustrated. Quote, CM Punk spoke at the post-match press conference that took a flamethrower to the AEW locker room, laying into fellow wrestlers, specifically Hangman Page, the company's executive vice presidents, who are Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, as well as Colt Cabana. Once Punk exited the room, he exchanged words in a locker room with Omega and the Bucks, which led to a physical altercation. Punishment for that backstage fight, Sports Illustrated has learned, will include suspensions for every person involved. The list of those receiving suspensions includes Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, Pat Buck, Christopher Daniels, Michael Nakazawa, and Brandon Cutler. Multiple sources have shared that Punk and Ace Steel will either be among those suspended or will no longer be with the company by the end of Wednesday. Punk met with Khan on Tuesday, so the two had an opportunity to discuss how that exit could be handled. Per sources, an external third-party investigation will be conducted to examine exactly what transpired.
So he basically just suspended everybody that was in the room. We're going to have a third-party investigation, and then we're gonna make final decisions at that time. That seems like what they're doing here.
Yes.
Let's just keep it fair. You're all gone.
Right. Because I've seen some people say, well, I think this guy's the aggressor and that guy's the aggressor. It's probably okay, right now we're at a he said, she said, I wasn't there, so you know what? You're all just going to go fucking home for a little while, all right? Like, like, I don't know who did what. I don't know who started it. I don't care. All you just go home for a little bit and let us figure it out. Let us investigate it. But for now, I don't need any of you here. You're all culpable in some way, shape, or form. And that, I think, is a pretty fair way to do it. There has not been enough time to sit down and go, okay, so I think Punk, you are more aggressive, so you're going to get 3 weeks, and you did this, and you did that. Like, I agree that, like, when we get down to it, like you said, Punk and Steel, A-Steel in particular, they might be fired. They seem the most likely to be let go. And the Brasso, report says that as much. Like, multiple sources have shared that Punk and A-Steel will either be among those suspended or will no longer be with the company by the end of Wednesday. They did not say that about Michael Nakazawa and Christopher Daniels and Omega and Nick. That caveat wasn't given with them. Those guys are suspended.
And that lines up. I know you heard from people. I heard from people over the last 3 days. We have laid low on this. Okay. We haven't reported anything or put anything behind the paywall because I just haven't felt comfortable enough because I'll be honest with you. I've gotten messages from people and they're all different. So it's like, Same. What am I going to do? Yeah. Am I, and I don't
really want to get involved in this. And now it's like, this isn't quite our job. You know what I mean? This is not quite, but you know what? I'll say the old gunslinger, and I think you mentioned this on our Discord, Dave Meltzer's been fantastic during this. So
Meltzer's
all these people,
been on top of it.
All right, Meltzer's washed. Oh, Meltzer in the mud. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's been fucking tremendous.
No disrespect to anyone. No disrespect to anyone else. Meltzer's been on top of this one, especially today, Wednesday. He's been fantastic. First with a lot of stuff, but you've gotten stuff. I've gotten stuff. It's all conflicting. I can go behind our paywall and just write all the various versions of the truth that we've been getting. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And quite honestly, Rich, we could do that and gain tons of subscribers if we were to do that. But we're not, but it's all over the place. But one thing that I have seen from people, there are people who believe Punk is fired. There are other people who believe that he's suspended. But I haven't heard anyone tell me that they think anyone else is fired.
Right. He is the only, him and A-Steel are the only names that I've heard are gone. That with that caveat of, they're gone. Their history, they're fired. They're going to be fired. They're indefinitely suspended. I've heard all those kind of words with Punk and Steel. I've not heard that with Omega and the Bucks and poor Michael Nakazawa. I wonder what he did in that fight. That'd be incredible to see. Brandon Cutler with that cold spray in the eyes. Like,
well, listen, I think it's one of those things where if
the dog. What about the dog? Punk's dog probably involved.
There's now. Listen, there's many versions of this story. There's one version of the story going around where Kenny Omega tried to get the dog out of it once the fight started. I don't know if you saw this.
I did, and I kind of like that story. Here's another thing too, and before I let you get on the Kenny Omega dog story, here's another thing too with this story. Be very careful with where you're getting your information from and who you're getting your information
from.
We're playing there are at best, 10 to 15 people that maybe actually truly know what happened and how it happened. Maybe even less than that. Now, the rest of it is a game of telephone, and you got to kind of follow the track of, okay, who could possibly be talking to this guy, and what possible version of the story are they getting? Because if you've been seeing one story and it's like, whoa, that's way different than that story, I'm just saying, keep in mind that what one party might say about the fight might be different than we're in a schoolyard again. We're in the principal's office with them saying, no, he started it. No, he threw the ball at my head, and then we're there. But everybody is taking sides. If you don't think that everybody has their side, or most people have their side, or people have the ones that they're aligning with, or keep that in mind. And that is the entire time throughout this story. That has been why I've kind of pulled back, is because the people that have been telling me everything, for the most part, I've been hearing it from what I assume is one party, one group, one section of and the other section I have not heard from. So it's like, I don't know, man. And I can tell that it's both and you can see from the reports. All you have to know is the ridiculous parts of the story too, because now we're in like the fourth day and there's like new details coming out and they're all just weird and strange. It's like, I heard the Young Bucks kick the door down and then the door fell on the guy's head and then the guy, it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? It's just it's utter insanity. It's like, oh, the dog was in the room and then Kenny grabbed the dog and then it was on fire and then he jumped through the window and it's like, all right, well, hold on a minute. What's going on here? Like, it's just, we've gotten absolutely ridiculous with the
which
various...
is why we haven't reported anything or
Right.
put anything up behind the paywall, because none of these versions of the story mean anything. It's just all, even the people that were there are all going to have different interpretations of what happened. You think CM Punk is going to have the same interpretation of this as Nick Jackson?
Right.
I mean, of course not. So whoever those people talk to, or it's so forget it. So we've kind of stayed out of that muck. But and again, that's not passing judgment on people who have been reporting things. It's just we don't want anything to do with it. But yeah, now we see how it shakes out. And it's just a matter of send everyone home and tell them, look, if you were an innocent bystander, if you didn't have anything to do with it, if you were just trying to break it up, the truth will come out. You'll get your money, right? That's, but for now, you all got to go. It's the fair thing to do. We can't cherry pick. Based on, we have to let the investigation sort all of this out. There's reports that the police were involved. Then Sean Ross Sapp is saying that the Hoffman Estates police are claiming they weren't involved.
Right. But there were a lot of like armed security guards there, and that might be where police got mixed up with
right.
Armed, arena security guys, most likely, and usually it are like, off-duty cops and that sort of stuff. So it's possible that's, and again, like the game of telephone has went from, hey, the security guard that may or may not have had, a badge and a gun or whatever turns into, oh, police ran in to stop the fight or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's all, a very, very ridiculous game of telephone that we're playing here. So, nothing official from the Hoffman Estates Police Department. So no, like, criminal charges filed or whatever on this point. Yeah,
no, nothing like that. And nothing like that. And they told Sean Ross Sapp that they weren't called to the scene. We do know that. That's what they said that. So, if there were police there, it wasn't the Hoffman Estates police or they're lying. But yeah, so just a big mess that they've got to sort out. We broke down the Punk scrum meltdown and a lot of our interpretations of the early reports of the fight on our All Out Instant Reaction Live on Sunday night, which is, if you're listening to this live, you have access to that right now. It's on the $10 tier.
By the way, our most listened to Instant Reaction Live by a mile. So thank you.
Yeah, and the most listened to, and a lot of people, many people are saying, Rich, that it's also the best instant reaction that we've ever done. So, I think we did. I had a lot of people tell me the next day that of all the audio that was out there from all the various outlets, that our audio was by far the best.
That means a lot. That's cool. Yeah, I saw that same thing, and thank you to everybody who said that.
Yeah, in terms of breaking that down and attacking it from all sides and being fair and all of those sorts of things and really approaching it from every angle. So if you can't get enough of this story and it looks like people,
our traffic is indicating that no, you cannot. So.
Correct. Business ain't bad, Rich. We need a few more of these melees, to be honest with you. But look, CM Punk at the scrum noted that CM Punk has made Vince McMahon and Scott Colton a whole lot of money. You could add Rich Craich and Joe Lance to that.
You can. As well. Yes, thank you, Phil Brooks.
CM Punk in every regard, whether it's his return or his complete meltdown and his friend biting people, is very good for business. But no, yeah, I highly recommend that audio. I am known as a humble man, Rich, but I do have to say that I do believe that was some fantastic audio.
And it is hard to be humble when you're from Arkansas, so I get it. So.
Well, hey, watch yourself, sir. I would never claim to be from Arkansas, although I do understand the callback you're doing there. We have a lot of new listeners, though, but you know what? As a rule, we do not explain the bits.
You'll figure it out.
No, you go back and figure it out. So again, I guess now we wait for more official news to drop. What do you think about Tony Khan sort of taking the tact of not explaining any of this in kayfabe. You have the Punk injury to fall back on if you want. He's legitimately hurt.
Yeah, let me get to that real quick, because we did not officially say that, but that has been reported by multiple people, including Dave Meltzer. Says Punk injury believed to be from the tope is serious. Rumors from Sunday, but he hadn't confirmed them. But it's been confirmed to me, no matter what happens discipline-wise, that the title situation has to be changed and addressed tonight. They also then later said, according to Dave Meltzer, AEW World Champion CM Punk has suffered a serious injury that will require surgery, believed to be from the tope onto Jon Moxley. And then, again, Meltzer said that no matter what discipline-wise was going to happen, this title situation has to get addressed because he is hurt and going to miss time.
Right. So you have a legitimate injury to lean on for kayfabe, and they chose not to do that. I mean, even if you didn't have a legitimate injury to lean on for kayfabe, like in the case of the Elite and the Trios titles, it's wrestling. You could go on TV and give any reason you want for these titles being vacated. Why do you think Khan has chosen to just vacate the titles and give no kayfabe? I don't expect him to go on TV and talk about the things that happen.
Right. As you may know, a fight occurred between 4 of my top stars.
Yeah. I don't expect that. But why can't he go on TV and say that CM Punk suffered whatever injury it was? Even make one up. Work up some hokey injury for someone on the Elite. Whatever the case may be. Isn't it weird that there's just no explanation given? What do you think of that strategy?
I think it's just, and I think this is more of a, I don't want to say zero tolerance, but more of a like, all right, I'm fucking serious now, guys. Like, this is enough is enough. Like, we're taking this shit away from you guys. You guys are on ice. I'm not gonna say anything to you. I'm not gonna mention your name. We're taking you out of the intro. We're doing that sort of stuff. I see it more as a let's just truly and once and for all just like really put the hammer down and say, all right, no, this is completely unacceptable in my company. You cannot do this in my company. And I'm not going to mention you guys' names. I'm not going to talk about you guys. Your titles are gone. We're moving on without you. We're moving on without you for right now. And I get it. I get his stance. It's weird and it's a tough stance to take. And it was very, very strange to see both titles get vacated. When the Punk one, you could have easily just said the Trios titles, whatever. You could have just not even mentioned the Trios titles. That could have been completely not worry about that another day. Worry about that next week. Worry about that in 2 weeks. It's fine. That's okay. If you have to address the AEW title situation, yeah, you got the Punk thing to do it. I get it. But I do think a lot of this was just like they really, really, really wanted to state like this type of stuff is unacceptable. We're just not going to stand for this shit anymore. And when it happens, there's a zero tolerance policy. And you guys are and I'm not afraid to take titles away. I'm not afraid to suspend you indefinitely. I'm not afraid to do any of that. And that's probably a good idea. There's also the factor of the legal investigation too, which...
Yeah. Or more importantly, I'm not afraid to erase you from existence.
Right,
We're not even mentioning you tonight. Which I think is the big thing here.
Right, you don't mean that much to me. I mean more to you than you mean to me. I can get rid of you and you're nothing anymore.
I got to tell you, I wouldn't fire Punk. I mean, and that isn't...
I guess we'll debate that in a bit.
Hear me out.
We'll debate that in a bit. Okay, what do you got?
Hear me out, though. Hear me out. Not from the standpoint of his actions. From the standpoint of, I'm not gift wrapping him to Paul Levesque, which is exactly what he'll do. He'll be motivated. He'll be angry. He'll have something to prove. WWE will take him back in a second. And I'm not gift wrapping him to them. He can sit home and I'll pay him till the end of that contract. I don't care about that. I would never fire him. Even if I have to pay him to do nothing. Even if I have to Lanny Poffo him. I'm not firing him for that reason. What do you think of that?
That is a tough one. I don't know that he would waltz into WWE as quickly and easily as you're saying he would.
Oh, I think he would.
I think he would try. I wonder if that company would kind of have a bit of a pause. Or I think Triple H, yes, he's trying to get as much buzz as he possibly can. If you fire CM Punk today, yeah, Paul Levesque's probably making that call and probably doing whatever he can to bring him in just for that buzz factor and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I just don't know if it's going to be as easy and clean as you're maybe presenting it there. I do think there might be some people with some apprehension. There might be some people very similar to what was happening in AEW too, where a lot of people, we can go back at that time and look at that. And there was a lot of people that were like, I don't know, this guy's kind of, and it's not the best, locker room guy or whatever. But for AEW standpoint, it was like, well, it's worth the risk. And it absolutely was. Like, let's be honest, for a year, it was absolutely worth the risk of bringing this guy in, even if he was, CM Punk, which we knew was probably going to come to a head at some point. He was eventually going to become CM Punk again. The I'm just happy to be here shtick was not going to last forever. The Triple H stuff, though, is there's a little more wrinkles there. I mean, him and Triple H have never quite seen eye to eye. Or CM Punk was more of a Vince guy forever. Do I think that they would understand that it's best for business to bury the hatchet and sign the deal? Yeah, probably. I could get that, but I do wonder if maybe Triple H and WWE can kind of look at this situation and say, is it really truly worth it? Do we really truly need this guy in our locker room? Do we truly need all of this that comes with it? I mean, make no question about it. What he did on Sunday was completely unacceptable for a wrestler to do to a company that he works for. I mean, that we'll talk about that in a bit in terms of like the firing or whatnot and what I would do with it. Like, what he did was just monumentally unprofessional on a level that I don't know that any other wrestler has done something to me as unprofessional as what CM Punk did. There's guys that refuse to do jobs. There's guys that won't go through the curtain until you pay them X amount of money. I guess guys have murdered each other backstage. That might be a little bit worse than this. But in terms of, hey, let's say American wrestling, most unprofessional thing in American wrestling. I mean, this guy went scorched fucking earth on the company that he worked for, the wrestlers that he works with, the wrestlers that he's feuding with, the people that he's being put in programs with, the guys that are also vice presidents of the company. And make no question, he was throwing stones at Tony as well, the guy sitting right fucking next to him, too, as he's just going absolutely haywire in an official company setting as well, in a press conference. Like, that's got to give you pause that, hey, if we sign this guy, this injury-prone guy who, by the way, has gotten hurt the last 2 times he's had, like, actual decent matches or any match that has any sort of link to it. If we're bringing this guy in, he comes with all of this baggage as well. And this is a guy who was not happy the last time he was with us. So I don't know. I think that there's probably, if Tony fired CM Punk tonight after Dynamite, the call's being made. Paul is going to call them. They're going to talk. I don't know that it is as clean and obvious as you're putting up there. I think there's enough questions and enough bad baggage that maybe you say, is it truly worth it for us to bring this guy in?
I think if they fire Punk, it's there. I see a scenario where he has a chip on his shoulder. He's mad at the company. He's mad. He's obviously hates the Elite, and I think he'll want to stick it to him. I mean, he flew real close to the sun when he took that Fox job, and he's the kind of guy who will want to do it to prove a point and to be a thorn in their side and a pain in the ass if he's fired and he feels like that's the wrong decision and he feels like he shouldn't be fired. I could see him moonwalking back into WWE. It's Phil Brooks. He'll want to stick it to everyone involved.
Oh, I think fully that he would want to do it. I have no question that if Paul Levesque called him and said, hey, here's the deal, sign it tonight and you're in, you'll be on Raw, tomorrow or whatever. I have no idea. I have no doubt that CM Punk, Phil Brooks would do that in a second. I don't know that Triple H and Nick Khan and WWE are going to be so... Because like you said, he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's angry, he's all that sort of stuff. Do I want a chip on my shoulder, angry CM Punk in my locker room in 2022?
If I'm Triple H and this guy's available, I'd do whatever it takes to bring him in.
Yeah, I just...
Listen, if he melts down, you just get rid of him.
Yeah, I suppose.
Come on, that's money. Especially now, coming off of this. I mean, you hire that guy and you give him a mic and you send him out to the railway. What are we doing here?
No. The problem though with CM Punk is how many times are we going to go through that company? They don't know. I know
I'll give you the answer to that. You do it as many times until it stops drumming.
Well, I guess so, but yeah, this would be the fourth or fifth time that he's done those guys over there, they don't know what they're doing. Like he just a year ago cut that exact same promo.
Yes,
talking about WWE, and they killed my passion for wrestling, and they killed wrestling, and this is a wrestling company, and we do wrestling here, and I want to be a part of this wrestling company. What they do, I haven't been wrestling since I left Ring of Honor. Those guys do something different. And yes, he's disingenuous, and yes, he's a professional liar. I get it. But it's like, I don't know that I want to hear that promo again from Punk. And maybe there's probably fans that do. There's probably a lot of WWE fans that want to hear him stick it to it, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. Is there money in it? There probably is. There probably
Hold on
is.
Hold on a second. He's announced for Raw in 2 weeks. You're not watching?
I'm watching. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's my point. Okay, if I'm not gift wrapping this guy to the other side, you're in a wrestling war. I'm not doing it. I'm not firing him. That doesn't mean I'm putting him on TV next week, but I'm not firing him. If he's got to sit home and I have to send him a check every week, that's fine. If he wants to take me to court and try to get out of it, if he's not happy about that arrangement, that's fine. I've got $8 billion. We could litigate this, and listen, the longer we litigate this for, the better for me, because it keeps you away from them. I'm not firing this guy. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. I'm not opening up the possibility of him walking onto that Monday Night Raw stage when they already have all this momentum and they're already hot and all of this. No, not a chance. Not a chance I fire this guy. Now, Ace Steel, if he's throwing chairs and biting people, he can hit the bricks. Okay? But I'm not firing this dude. I'm sorry. And again, that has nothing to do with his behavior. This is completely independent of his behavior. He was completely out of line at the presser. Even if he's right. Because, okay, let me talk you through this. Let's assume that all of the following is true. Okay? The guy comes into the company. He truly doesn't give a shit whether Colt Cabana's employed, fired, dead, or alive. Doesn't think about Colt Cabana, doesn't care about Colt Cabana. Tells Tony Khan, I don't give a fuck about Colt Cabana. You do whatever you want with Colt Cabana. Okay? And he's just going about things, doing his job. And Colt Cabana gets banished to ROH Siberia. People in the back are talking. And you know you had nothing to do with it. And your coworkers are going to the media. And again, work under the assumption this is all true. Because we don't know if it's true. Okay, your coworkers are going to the media and saying that Punk pushed for this, and you're hearing whispers that everyone thinks you pushed for it. Now you got fans chanting Colt Cabana at you. You got a guy who you're trying to work a pay-per-view program with, okay, making veiled references to Colt Cabana out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck, okay? And I could see why he'd be hot over that. That doesn't justify his actions at the scrum. But assuming that he's correct in all of this and all of that is true, and Hangman Page is being a wise guy on TV, and the elite guys are, running around, telling everybody that this guy, was the one who nudged Cabana out, and you're just trying to put Cabana behind you, and you genuinely have nothing to do with it, I understand why the guy was mad. And again, it doesn't justify throwing all your coworkers and all of your bosses under the bus.
Well, and I will give you this one point, that when he did that promo a couple weeks ago on Dynamite and did the that's not cowboy shit, that's coward shit or whatever, a lot of people were really upset about that. If you remember, we weren't. We said, all right, this is the receipt.
That's the
Punk.
receipt.
That's the receipt. If that was the end of it, that's the end of it. And Punk is completely justified in giving Hangman that receipt and saying, hey, look, you caught me off guard by referencing workers' rights and all that sort of stuff. Well, I'm going to catch you off guard. I'm going to call your name out. I'm going to do this sort of stuff, and I'm going to say it out in the air. And that should have been it. And if that was it, I have no issue with everything that you've said so far. I am perfectly in lockstep that if all that stuff is true, that everything that Punk knows and is here and all that stuff that he thinks is happening, if all that is true, then that receipt they did a couple weeks ago is perfectly fine with me. That was all right, motherfucker, you took me to task, I'm taking you to task, now we're good. Now we move on.
Yeah. And then put yourselves in his shoes. He's like getting blamed for this thing he has nothing to do with a guy that he's tried to put in the rear view for the last 10 years. But here's the rub. What if it isn't true? What if the elite wasn't spreading that rumor? Okay? Hangman did what he did. But what if the elite wasn't telling people that? What if this is just a fabrication of Phil Brooks' imagination? And he thinks this, then everything he did from the presser to the fight and everything else is so completely out of line that he can never step foot in that company again. Because now you have the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega listening to this raving lunatic thinking, what the fuck? We didn't do it. What is he talking about? We have nothing to do with this guy. We didn't spread this. We didn't go to the media.
And he certainly wasn't. He wasn't mincing words when he was talking about those guys either. I think that's lost in it too. Go back and people that I think there's a lot of people that are looking at the story and looking at the context of the story and all that sort of stuff that have actually listened to what he said. I mean, he had some pretty awful stuff that he said about those guys. He called them, bitches and assholes, and it's not like, yeah, you got guys down there that are saying stuff about me. It wasn't that. You know what I mean? There's different words are important. Words mean a lot. When you call them, fucking bitches and assholes and stuff like that.
Whatever vernacular he used.
Yeah. I'm just paraphrasing again as well, but because there was a lot. There was a lot of it in there, but it wasn't exactly the most calm, there's people back there that have said some stuff. Like I think the anger is probably still there of, hey, look, dude, we didn't say anything. What the hell are you talking about? But the words he used to describe those men, I think also were like, all right, dude, enough's enough. Like, we didn't do what you're saying we're doing, and also you're referring to us, your bosses, by the way, the people that are executive vice presidents of this company that you're an employee of. You're calling us those names on official company property. Like, that's not going to stand. So no, I get it. I absolutely get the Bucks and the elite side, especially if they did not do any of the stuff that Punk is saying that they did. That people just kind of assumed, and we talked about. I listened back to our show the night of. No, we didn't do it the night of. We did it the week after of Punk's debut at Rampage. And one of the things we brought up is, okay, how does the Colt situation play out? Everybody's been asking that from day one. How does this Colt situation play out? And somebody at the post-show presser for that event asked, I forget the exact words that they used, but it was a little bit of like, well, you've had some run-ins with some people that are in this company. And Punk's words, we talked about at the time, we broke these words down for about 20 minits or whatever. His words were, I haven't had any issues with anybody today. Yeah. And we broke down, do you think that was, was there purpose to those words? And there's always purpose to his words. This is a guy who knows how to talk, and he knows when he's saying words, how to say words. This is a guy who knows what he's doing when he talks. And that was at that time, you and I even said, ooh, that is weird wording right there. That makes us think that there was no break bread moment, that there was no Tony getting these guys in the room and saying, all right, figure your shit out because I need you guys to work together moving forward. So from that point forward, and it was going to be and people know it's an issue and people know it's a thing. And yeah, the idea that it could only have come from the elite and the Bucks. It's only the elite and the Bucks that could have possibly assumed that there's tension between Colt Cabana and CM Punk, and it's only the elite and Omega that could possibly have been saying that Cabana was on ROH because of Punk. Like, everybody knew that there was always that black cloud. You mentioned that term a little bit earlier. There was always that black cloud. It's very weird that it got to this point where Punk was so adamant that these were the guys that were telling people that's why Colt Cabana was in Ring of Honor.
When everyone on Earth was just assuming that was the case, like maybe unfairly,
right? And that's it could all have been like Punk could, and that's why the handling of the presser could have been so much easier. Punk could have said that. I think it was Nick Hausman that asked the question. He could have said, look, I just want to say this right now. Nick
Hausman didn't even get to
he didn't get a chance to ask it, which, by the way, is also the true sign of an unhinged maniac, by the way, is having,
he just jumped down his throat, and he thought he had the big gotcha because he thought Hausman was still friends with Cabana. And then when he asked him, he said, are you friends with Colt Cabana? And Hausman was like, actually, no, I don't see eye to eye with him. And then Punk was thrown off. He said, well, that makes two of us, and he straight up said, he goes, you blew up my spot, but he was going to rant about Colt Cabana regardless. Right. But he thought he had the big gotcha because
he saw Nick and said, oh, here we go.
Yes, he thought that they were still buddies, but they're not buddies anymore, and he didn't have the big gotcha that he thought he got. But it wasn't going to stop him from going on his unhinged rant.
Right, which is insane that and that moment that was what he decided that he needed to lead off this press conference with, is screaming about Colt Cabana and EVP. And that is so strange and so weird, because what he could have done is, if I'm Phil Brooks, which is a very weird headspace to try to get into, just say, all right, I just want to get this out here right now, and hopefully this never gets asked to me ever again. This is way beyond what Punk would ever do, because he doesn't really operate on a very logical standpoint a lot of times. But he could have said, all right, look, there's been a lot of stuff going around. I just want to put it out here right now so that you guys don't have to waste your time asking me, and I never have to hear it again. I had nothing to do with Colt Cabana going to Ring of Honor. That is a decision solely of Tony Khan's. I had nothing to do with it, and I'd prefer if you'd leave both of our private lives out of this. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to Colt.
Yeah. Never asked for him to be fired. Never asked for him to be moved. And Tony Khan had actually told Forbes that was the case. And every time Tony tried to say that, Punk was cutting him off. And, Tony tried to say that when he was first asked about this, he shouldn't have said no comment. He should have just, because that made things in Tony's mind, made it worse because it left it hanging there. And then, by the time he did clarify it to Forbes or whatever, it was too late because Punk had already snapped. And I have to say, bad job by every media member in that room, because once Punk goes on this rant and starts talking about how the elite are spreading all these lies and he's finger wagging everyone in that room, how come nobody has the guts to stand up, ask for the mic from Leva Bates and say, Punk, what outlets do you believe that they spread these lies to? What makes you think, what information do you have that the elite are the ones telling us this?
Right, yeah. Why are you so sure? Why are you so sure that it was these guys that did this?
Rich, the next two questions to him were fucking kayfabe questions. I mean, get out of the fucking room. You don't belong there. You, age 88-year-old, Izzy the fucking minor, all of you need to go.
I think she's 18, by the way, at this point.
How does nobody... Well, she stinks. How does nobody...
And AJ's been 8 for like 6 years now. That kid's got to be at least 11 by now. So.
How is the very next question not... How are you not peppering him with these questions at that point? The next questions were kayfabe questions. Oh, how does it feel to win the title back? No one cared.
Yeah, we're past that point now. This guy just called every member of this. He just torched the locker room and told the EVPs that they're assholes and they don't know.
Not a single person cares about kayfabe at that point.
No, we're done. We're past that point for sure.
No one cares how the match went. We want to know now. Okay, where you feel justified throwing these accusations at your executive vice president.
Right. Those are pretty big accusations, Punk. What do you have to back those up? Yeah,
exactly. That has to be the next question. It has to be. Which leads to my next sort of discussion I want to have with you. Okay? Do we really need to do these scrums if you're Tony Khan?
I think
the breaking point.
This might be the end of the scrums. I should have gone to this one. This is probably it. So.
I mean, and the reason we don't go to the scrums is because our instant reaction lives, full disclosure, are the biggest money makers we have. Okay, we make more money doing our audio than going to the scrums and getting the same video that everybody else gets. Okay, so if you want to get mad at us for never going and throw us in there for not asking the good questions, go right ahead. That's why we don't go. That's why Rich didn't go. Because it's more advantageous for us to Rich come home and for us to do our audio and make our money.
Right. I'm a coward and I want to make more money. So, sue me.
So, you want to get on us for that, that's fine, since we're getting on everybody else. But I don't know how that question isn't asked. I'm sitting there watching this because you're still driving home. We hadn't started our audio. I'm watching all this live. And I'm screaming at my laptop that someone needs to ask him why he's so sure that the elite are the ones telling everybody. And no one bothered to ask him. Who knows what he would have said? But, now we have many members of the media coming out and saying, for the record, I never spoke to Matt or Nick Jackson or Kenny Omega regarding CM Punk.
I don't know the exact outlets, but at least
Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, sure. I know that 2 of the 3 big dogs in the business all said it, and I believe one other person, but I forget who it was, said it as well. So
yeah, so I
don't know who he's upset at. I don't know who he's upset at, but
how does no one ask him that question? It blows my mind. But that's nothing new with these pressers. But the point is, why keep doing these? I mean, admittedly, this was the worst case scenario of something that can go horribly wrong. But haven't we all kind of been waiting for something like this at one of these scrums? I mean, if we're being honest. And I know they're a good idea on paper, and it's great to have that, that at least the chance to have an open forum with Tony Khan and with the wrestlers and all of that. And it's a great idea on paper, but I'm saying from Tony Khan's point of view. Now, I hope these things go on forever, and I hope they all
they're fantastic. Yeah, I don't know if you remember.
I hope they all end like this.
Yeah, they're great. I don't know if you remember, but Jim Herd used to do these in WCW. Did you ever hear any of the highlights or clips from those?
I don't remember those.
Yeah, so I've gone back and listened to some of those, and I know Between the Sheets has referenced some of them before. But they're not as contentious as this, because it's usually just Jim Herd with people. But they didn't always go great either. It was like Jim Herd, Wade Keller. What's the guy's name? Steve Beverly, I want to say, was the guy. What was his? He was Matt Watch. He was around.
Matt Watch.
Yeah, he was the Matt Watch guy. Steve Beverly, right? It's like Dave Wade, Steve Beverly, and a few other guys that would get in there, and like it's Jim Herd, and it's Jim Herd era WCW. So obviously, and these guys aren't in the same room with each other. So a lot of these guys, like Wade Keller, would just be like, yeah, so like that was real. You did this story, and it did not land at all. So really, and Jim Herd, would be semi-professional, but then little by little, as the scrum would go on and the conference would go on, he'd get a little annoyed and be like, well, I know how to make wrestling. What do you know? You're just a kid, type stuff, where it would get off the rails, because it's just always gonna get off the rails. And I love them. They're great. But yeah, it's a good idea by Tony. I get why he's doing it. I get why AEW does it. But yeah, it felt inevitable that it was going to end. Maybe not exactly like this, but in some way it would have ended like this, which sucks, because I love them and they're great.
There was going to be a controversy at some point. This is obviously an extreme example. And, WWE just did one this weekend for Clash at the Castle, and it was an utter and complete embarrassment in every way with the way that the media behaved. I mean, they
deserve it.
They made the collective media at the AEW scrums look like, the White House press.
Right.
I mean,
AJ the Awesome Show was better than everybody that was at that Clash at the Castle presser.
It's just a complete total embarrassment. But and I think that was just something they did for that specific show.
Oh, they're not doing that in fucking.
I mean, I hope they do, because even if the press at these WWE shows, even if 90% of them are like the geeks that were in the UK this weekend, who are just basically, just beyond fawning and asking the worst questions possible, eventually you're going to get some people in there. You're going to get a Dave Meltzer or a Nick Hausman or a Sean Ross Sapp or a Brandon Thurston in there to ask some real questions. And at least there's a chance that we can get something out of them. So I hope they continue. But they probably, I have a feeling it was just for that event. But from Nick Khan's point of view, I would never do one of these again. What is there to gain versus what there is to lose? Because think about it this way, and I'm not downplaying this story at all. This is an enormous pro wrestling story, one of the biggest that we'll ever cover, an absolute shit show. But try to think about if all of the events that took place on Sunday night happened exactly as they did, with the exception of the scrum. If there were no scrum and we didn't see CM Punk melt down publicly, and then we heard about the fight, this story wouldn't be nearly as big as it is today, because the meltdown is the key to it all. I mean, the meltdown was public, and it showed us the state that this man was in before the fight occurred. If he had this meltdown in the back privately, just in front of Tony Khan, and then the fight occurred, okay, we're covering this like it's a big deal. All these major stars are suspended. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a story, but it's just another pro wrestling locker room fight, and we've seen many pro wrestling locker room fights over the years. But now we have this added element of the complete and total public meltdown that this guy just had. The scrum made it 1,000 times worse, because there's images and a face to it now. This insane man with blood all over his face.
The visual is incredible. Just chomping down a muffin / cupcake. There's been a lot of debate if it was a muffin or a cupcake. I've heard cupcake from people in the room. Other people have said muffin. I don't know what it was exactly. But yeah, it's this bloody, sweaty, gray bearded man just chomping on a muffin / cupcake, just ranting and raving and just lighting the entire company that he works for on fire.
Yeah, I mean, without the scrum, news would have broke Sunday night that there was a backstage fight. And then, Monday we would have gotten all the same details trickling in that we've been getting now for the past couple of days, but we wouldn't have had that visual and all of those quotes and everything else of this guy completely melting down publicly. And, the scrum undoubtedly made it worse. And this was a ticking time bomb. It was going to happen eventually. Maybe not to this extent. Okay? But you were going to get an aggrieved wrestler up there, or a wrestler who just didn't like a line of questioning. It's something that was eventually going to happen at these things. And I'm just not sure if I'm Tony Khan, if they're worth the hassle. So I do think that's something to think about as well. And it's not as if every wrestling promotion doesn't have these sorts of issues. Rich, Kota Ibushi and Carl Fredericks just had meltdowns of their own, but they had them on Twitter as opposed to in front of the collective wrestling media streamed live on YouTube. Okay? Same thing though, but with a slightly lessened impact because again, it wasn't streamed live and it wasn't in front of the media. In a several week period in WWE, Vince McMahon fired his own son. Sasha Banks and Naomi marched into an executive's office, slapped titles on the table, and quit. Vince McMahon got ousted in a sex scandal. Johnny Ace got ousted in a sex scandal. And Brock Lesnar quit the company and came back. And that all happened in a matter of like 4 or 5 weeks. So shit like this will never stop happening in pro wrestling companies. It's currently happening in all of these pro wrestling companies. But it didn't play out in front of thousands of people live on YouTube. And then for hundreds of thousands more to watch the next day. How's that video still up? It was up the last time I checked.
I guess hopefully they're monetizing it at least a little bit, and Tony can look at his checkbook and say, all right, well, he made X amount of money on this. But
I mean, look, there's going to be, but the last time I checked, the AEW version was still up.
I know. Let me see. Let me make sure it's still up. Yeah, let me see if it is. It is. Yeah, it's got 667,000 views, but it's up.
So, just think about Kota Ibushi or Carl Fredericks doing exactly what they did on Twitter, but on a stage with a microphone for the world to see. It's not all that much different. Okay? And all the drama that's been going on in WWE over the summer as well. But you're just like inviting it to the world with these scrums. I genuinely don't think they're worth the trouble as much as I hope they continue. So I don't know where you stand on that.
No, I think long and hard about doing these again. But the problem though is like now, especially if you take it, if like on the next pay-per-view, he's like, nah, we're not doing a scrum or whatever. Everyone's like, oh, Tony's scared. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to meet the press. He doesn't want to. So it's like, I feel like you need to maybe do a slow getting rid of the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that you could just all of a sudden say, hey, we're done with these. We're never doing them ever again. We're in isolation. We're hiding now. I think you got to try to ease out of it. So the pre-show calls are probably pretty tame because at least it's just Tony. You're not inviting wrestlers up there. Maybe the next time Tony can say, hey, I'm not bringing any wrestlers here. It's just me. So if you have any questions for me, I'll ask them. I think that's maybe where you can go with these to kind of ease them out of like, all right, you don't need to be talking directly to the wrestlers because I can't trust that these fucking psychopaths will say what I want them to say or won't bury my company or won't bury other wrestlers or won't do whatever. So you know what? I'll handle the scrums from here on out. You're not going to be able to talk to the wrestlers anymore, which is going to be unfortunate, but might have to be the next step.
We can't talk shit because we don't go, but I'm going to talk shit anyway. I wish I would have been in that room. I would have been licking my chop. I would have had so many questions for Punk. And none of them got asked. I mean, you got him right where you want him. He's firing on all cylinders. He's that's like a reporter's dream. And they went right into kayfabe, like mixed kayfabe question. It's unfucking believable.
Well, and here's something I wanted to bring up to you.
In the room. I think he intimidated them is what it was.
Oh, I'm sure he did. And this is something I definitely wanted to discuss with you is and it kind of relates to why Punk decided, we talked about before, he got in that room with an idea that he was going to get angry about stuff. You know what I mean? It didn't take a question. He decided he was going to get angry about stuff. What do you think about this theory? And I've heard this theory from a lot of places, and it does make a lot of sense to me that Punk knew he was hurt, knew he was going to have to miss time, knew he either tore his pec, separated his shoulder, whatever the injury is. We don't know what the actual injury is just yet. We know that he's hurt and it's going to require surgery and he's going to be out for a while. What do you think about the idea that Punk went in there and just said, you know what, I'm probably not going to rehab this shit. I don't know how long I'm going to be out. Fuck it. What do I have to lose? I'm going scorched earth on all these guys.
I think the odds are very high. I think he saw this as his opportunity to speak on it, and
to
wasn't
me,
going to be denied.
And to me, that's even more reason to tell this guy, I don't want you back in my company ever again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not going to fire you. I'll pay you X amount of money, but you're not getting out of this contract. You can sit home and stew and yell on Twitter and do whatever you want to do, but you're done. You know, either you're fired or you're done, because going in like that and going in premeditated, knowing that you are going to be gone, knowing that you are hurt and there is nothing that it's not going to really truly affect you, because you're either gone, you're either never going to come back, you're either going to go rehab this injury, you're going to go get your surgery or whatever, knowing full well that you're going scorched earth on these guys and that there's not going to be any time for that you're going to get on that plane, or you're going to go, well, obviously you're not going to plane when he's in Chicago, you're going to get in that car, you're going to go back to your house, and you're not going to see these guys for 6 months maybe, or 7 months or 8 months, or like, that to me is even worse. That's even more damning. That to me is to borrow a phrase from CM Punk, that's coward shit. To know, hey, you know what, I'm fucked. My injuries, assuming that this is what was going on in his headspace, and I don't know that it's true or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that's absolute coward shit to say, you know what, I know that I'm fucked. I know I'm going to have to get surgery. Fuck all these guys. I'm going to burn this shit down and then I'm out of here. Like, that sucks even more. Yeah. And if that is truly the case, and if you do end up finding out that he was motivated by the idea that he knew he wasn't going to be around, that's even more reason for me to say, you know what, dude, I don't need to see you in this company ever again. You're done. I'm putting you on ice until your deal's done. Then you can go do whatever the hell you want to do, but I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to talk to you ever again. You're done. You're nothing to me. We're erasing you from our history. Bye. Go away.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't fire him. I wouldn't give him some non-compete that's shorter than the duration of whatever was really left on his deal. I would much rather just pay him to sit home. I'm not gift wrapping him to the competition. I'm not doing it. That doesn't mean I'd ever want him back in my building if it's determined that, on top of everything else that was public, the public embarrassment that he put you through, that the fight was also his fault. And look, I don't know about you, I personally am not interested in speculating on the fight, who started the fight, how the fight started.
Stupid to me.
I think it's stupid. I think it's a waste of time. There's nothing that we can say that would be worthwhile. I have no idea what happened with the fight. I mean, there's one report that the Elite came in with the AEW legal / HR and and Punk and Steele were just, ready to go. There's another report that they were banging on the door and Punk didn't want to talk to him. There's so many versions of it that just attempting to break that down or speculate on it is a complete and total waste of time. It's entirely possible that Punk was waiting for an opportunity and then they just attacked them. It's also entirely possible that the Elite were angry and Punk took that as an act of aggression with them storming in his room. I don't fucking know. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here, and I guess I just did, but I don't want to break down the fight because there's so many different stories and angles. I'm not interested.
The fight is the least interesting thing to me about this entire situation. Like, to some people, they love the idea of, who hit who did what. I don't care, man. I care about what led to all this. What leads to 4 of your stars going in an all-out brawl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what leads to that? Why did it happen? How did it happen? That's what I care about. That's what fascinates me. That's what I think this show needs to break down. Not, did Ace Steel throw the first punch, or was it Nick Jackson that threw the first punch? I don't care. Right. What about the dog? I don't care. I care about how did we get to this point where whatever happened, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, CM Punk, Ace Steel, Michael Nakazawa, Christopher Daniels, Pat Buck, all these guys got in the room and started fighting. I don't know. I don't care how the fight went. I don't care who got the best of who. How did we get here? How did this come to be? And now what is the repercussions from this? I don't really care about the fight itself. And that's, again, like that speaks to the point where everybody kind of gets suspended. The only time I ever got suspended in school is there was a giant fight in my school. And I truthfully had nothing to do with it. This was in elementary school, and it was a big giant fight, and there was a lot of us all standing around and doing stuff because it was during like a football game. And the principal just said, all right, you know what? I don't care. You're all fucking suspended. He just looked at everybody and just said, all you are suspended and no more recess for like a month or whatever. I could get it. I get why, because he's thinking, because he's like, all right, so what happened? And then this person's like, well, that guy did this, and then that guy did that, and this guy, and he's just thinking, you know what? I don't care. All of you, all 40 of you, You're just all suspended for a day, and you're all not doing recess for a month. I don't care. And then we were all fine afterwards, and we are all cool, and it didn't matter. But he wasn't going to say, okay, well, no, this guy didn't do anything, and that guy didn't do anything. Well, okay, so he's out, and so this guy, all right, forget it. Just all you're suspended. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. So it kind of feels like Tony might be the same way, too, where he's like, I don't care. We got to this point. This thing happened. It doesn't matter how or why or whatever. It just fucking happened, and now we need to move forward from it. I don't really care about the details. But the legal team and some of the legal parts of it apparently do kind of care what happened. And I guess that is currently happening or currently going on. So,
how about Cody tweeting out pictures smoking a cigar on the balcony?
I mean, there's a lot of people doing victory laps. Kevin Owens is doing a little bit of a victory tweet.
Well, he hates Punk's guts.
Codester definitely doing a victory tweet for sure.
Cody, and it's like, the I told you so smoking of the cigar out on the balcony, but is that directed at the Elite or is it directed at Punk? We don't know.
Yeah.
Or is it directed at Tony Khan?
It could be a little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of C. Could be everything.
So
he did a man after my own heart. He did plug his cigars afterwards. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He tweeted his cigars and then tweet below. So.
He's like,
still waiting for my free one, Cody. Anytime that comes in the mail, that'd be great.
It's never coming, Rich. It's never
still
coming.
waiting. I was promised a free cigar. So.
A whole box of them, as I recall, right?
I'll take a cigar, Joe. Beggars can't be choosers. I'll take a cigar.
I can confirm you gave him the address, which...
got lost in the mail. That's fine.
Maybe your mailman took them.
Right? You know what? It was around New Year's, so good for him.
But, what a mess. Not, the fight, I mean, that's not unprecedented. And I'm not downplaying it. These things happen.
If you boil it down to just like the bare minimum of a bunch of wrestlers got in a fight backstage, no, this isn't that. And that's why I say the others, the what leads into this is more interesting to me than the fight itself. A backstage fight, that shit happens all the time. I mean, we had guys literally kill each other in backstage fights. Like, we've had guys attempt to kill each other in backstage fights. We've had a lot of very prominent, very obvious, very, very, very important backstage fights and ones that people have known about and historical and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't interest me. What interests me is how we got here. What's going... Like, that is what, to me, is fascinating. That is what is unprecedented, too. What CM Punk did on Sunday is unprecedented in wrestling history. I mean, mostly because a lot of other guys haven't had that opportunity to be on a company-branded press conference stage to rant and rave and scream like a lunatic, because most wrestlers are lunatics. And if you gave them this platform, a lot of them would probably do similar things to what CM Punk did. CM Punk is also one of the all-time great lunatics of pro wrestling, especially of the modern era of pro wrestling. So... that to me is just way, 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 way more fun and more interesting to me. I guess none of it's super fun. Well, I guess, is this kind of fun? I guess this is fun. Is this fun?
Listen, I'm not like
nobody's fighting me. I'm good. I mean, I'm cool.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people pearl clutching this and being like, "Oh, this is so terrible." I don't know. This is pro wrestling drama. It's good for me. It gives me something to talk about. I find it interesting. I mean, it's. When did we become
I'm a bad guy. I guess I'm a bad guy, but yeah, I don't really care that much, to be honest.
When did we become as fans so like I don't know what the word is, like just not interested in this sort of drama? This is a big reason why I became interested in the inner workings of wrestling to begin with. Go
read a 91 Observer, for God's sakes.
Like, I mean, this is and for a show like this is fucking gold for people like you and me. And you can't tell me that fans aren't interested in this stuff, because like I said, all of our business metrics say much different. This is, so people are curious, and I don't know, but there has been a segment of the fan base that's like almost, put off by all of this. I don't know, man. I don't have any dog in this fight.
I think we're doing the AEW's dying again thing. Which
it's always dying.
The weekly AEW's dying thing. So I get.
You're gonna do a monster number tomorrow, and
the show just ended. And let me tell you, Joe, it looked like a fucking hell of a show, and I think the company is going to stay alive for at least another day.
This is what I mean. So. I'm going to watch the rest of it, and I'm probably going to do instant reaction a little earlier than usual, maybe even late night tonight, just because of my schedule tomorrow. And you know, I gotta say that first half hour, it really felt like there was a new energy. I'm gonna watch the whole show and make a full judgment. But
I had the audio off. I think you're gonna love this show. It looked like a really good show.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there's a black cloud lifted, and this maybe was just something that finally, all of this tension in the back, maybe it's something that just finally needed to happen, and maybe the people who had nothing to do with any of this and they're just innocent bystanders trying to go to work and put on a wrestling show and make a career, you know, maybe they felt like there was a lot of tension lifted without Punk in the building, without the Young Bucks in the building, right? With Tony Khan finally kind of addressing and dealing with these things, and maybe the people that were mad, because Mox was clearly energized, and he could have told Tony Khan, you know, go kick rocks, man. I've earned this time off. No, he's there and he's working hard and cutting the most important promo, you know, of the show to open things up.
And not just coming in for 1 week, too. Presumably he'll be here for the next, you know,
he's in the fucking tournament.
Yeah, right.
And it's very obvious the direction now is Mox MJF, so he's probably winning the tournament, you know? And it's like, so he's going to be the key player moving forward, and he's really been the MVP of the company because he saved their ass when Punk was hurt, and he's saving their ass again. And he just punches the clock and works hard, you know, and I can't wait to watch the rest of the show, but I really think, and like I said at the top, that in a weird way, this can end up being very beneficial for AEW, because, you know, they're going to do a bigger number than they would have tomorrow. Okay. Because there's going to be interest in this show. So if they successfully created some new storylines and some angles and some directions that are going to keep a lot of those people who are parachuting in to watch this one, this could all end up being a business positive for them too. You know, and again, I don't, Punk, I'd be more surprised if he sticks around than if he's fired. Like I'm expecting him to be fired. I'm not, but I'm not writing off the possibility that they just suspend him, and the speculation.
Yeah, I don't think it's impossible. Not to cut you, I don't think it's impossible for them to say, all right, look, however, you're gonna be out for 6 months because of your injury. Let's talk then. For now, just go away. Don't talk to us. We won't talk to you. Go away. And in 6 months, get your surgery, get healed up, and let's see where you're at. And let's see where we're at, and let's see if we want to do this again.
Yeah, you suspend them. You don't pay them for a while. You sit them down. You tell them, look, you're hurt anyway, and you were going to be gone anyway. There has to be punishment for this. And for all we know, Punk might be contrite. He might have woke up the next day and realized he really fucked up. With the fight, I mean, the rant maybe not, but the fight portion of it, he might have sat down. He might have sat down with Tony Khan and said, "You know what? This got out of hand."
I would put very little money on that.
I don't know if I'd bet on it, but it's
not
possible.
betting on that. This is a weekend of betting as the NFL season kicks off. That is not a bet that I'm taking, Joe. But if I suppose you could take that bet, the odds would be very large for that.
Let me tell you something. If he wants to keep that rumored $5 million a year job,
yeah, I agree.
Okay, you think he
maybe the wife? Maybe he got home and AJ's like, "What the fuck are you doing, you idiots?" Yeah, that's humbled many a men in the past. Walking in the door and being like, and the wife of the like, "What are you, idiot? You dumbass." You call him right now and say you're you're sorry.
Yeah, maybe he knows he blew up a golden goose, but here's my point. If they don't fire him and he has like a torn pec or something and he's out for 9 or 10 months, and you suspend him while he's injured, he rehabs, you forget that CM Punk exists.
That's such a blessing in disguise, by the way. Like the because I'm thinking,
oh my God, it's
over the last few days. I'm thinking, man, what do you do here? How do you both of your both got units are champions. CM Punk's your main champion. You just gave him the title. Oh, God, the leader, just helps. The trio is like, fucking, what do you do here? And it's like, oh, he's got a torn pec. I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
A gift from the heavens.
I'm like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, because either way, he's got to go. Yeah, right. It's. So, yeah, my point is, and then, you bring him back in a year and he's the biggest heel in the company. You make money off it. Because he's going to get booed out of the building.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, there might be there. Yeah.
Here's the thing. If he's gone for that long, he might not.
Right.
If he came back in a month, he'd get booed out of the building. But if he's gone for a year, he might come back a conquering hit. Listen, either way, if but there's all kinds of legal issues, and there was word that people were threatening to walk out. This is all speculation. But if there's a way to work it out where you don't have to, where he can come back, I mean, there's obviously money to be made there. This is fucking pro wrestling. Let's not forget that. And if he, and he's also the biggest star in the company, and it's like, Conor McGregor couldn't get fired. Conor McGregor, short of murdering someone, couldn't get fired by UFC.
No.
John Jones
goes on those press conferences. Yeah, speaking of press conferences, this guy will go onto a UFC press conference and say, "This guy's fucking not paying me enough money. This guy sucks." Yeah. Main event, that guy's pay-per-view that night. So
I think people just sometimes go a little overboard on the idea that Punk was disrespectful. I mean, like it or not, a certain level of star can get away with that stuff.
Sure.
Okay, it's and I'm not saying that's right, but it's just the way it is. So,
like you talked about it on Sunday, people were like, "Well, I couldn't do that at my job." Well,
nobody cares.
Nobody cares about your dopey job.
You
could be replaced tomorrow. Like, your job is not that important, whoever you are. Yeah. I just insert random person here. Most people listen to this, and I'm with you. Hey, trust me, I'm with you. Yeah. I'm not that important. Trust me.
No,
they could replace me very quickly if they needed to. So,
no,
they can't replace my moxie though, but they could replace my. My job duties probably. So
listen. I tell the people that work for me all the time. Tomorrow morning, that door's getting unlocked with or without me or you. I mean, that's a fact. Okay, business as usual. Whether I'm here, you're here, or the guy we're arguing about is So yeah, absolutely. It's not. Don't ever compare this shit to your job. It's so dumb. But yeah, here we are.
It's funny you did mention that too. There was a shouting match at my job on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, everybody just walked back in like it was nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people are like, "Oh, at my job, I couldn't do that." Well, I kind of saw that happen, and the guy just walked back in, and they're like, "Well,
yeah,
we need some sales, so get on those phones." You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
You want your commission? Well, you know what? I don't want to talk to you. You don't talk to me. Let's make some commission. So,
and pro wrestling is wholly unique in that. The fact that it's fake fights, but yet it's still considered like combat sports. And it's almost like if a real fight breaks out, it's more acceptable because there's fake fights. It's just weird.
Yeah,
it's pro wrestling.
Strange, yes.
It's fucking weird. And it has nothing to do with your job at, as a middle manager with your fucking cubicle. You stop comparing those two things. One has nothing to do with the other. You cannot make analogies. It's, and people do that with sports all the time, and it's so stupid. Like a player skips practice or mouths off to a coach. Well, if I mouth off to my all right, okay, you're not the third best point guard in the league. That's why you can't get away with it. Okay, it's never compare your job to sports or entertainment or anything else. A-list Hollywood stars just being a complete and total pain in the ass on set. It's just the rules are different. The rules are different.
Well, yeah, I would say it with sports things too. Like, people, well, at my job, I'm like, 50,000 people don't watch you do your job. Like, don't pay $100 to watch you do your job. So no, you don't matter in this.
And there's a stack of resumes on someone's desk where for that job that you're replaceable. It's different. You're not the draw. Maybe you are the draw at your job. Maybe you.
In which case, knock yourself out. Yeah, go crazy.
Yeah, then you can get away with this kind of thing too. But we'll see. It's a lot of people think he's gone, though, and it's just a matter of crossing T's, dotting I's, doing it the right way before they officially announce anything. Meltzer said he had a meeting with Tony Khan today where the meeting went well, but we don't know what that means. We don't know if that means Punk was contrite and Khan is willing to overlook his actions, or whether it means it went well in terms of coming to some kind of agreement to have him hit the bricks. So it just means that whatever they discussed, wasn't contentious and went well. What that means, nobody knows. So, it's very odd that they didn't mention anyone's name on the TV. Though. Very, very strange, even in a kayfabe manner. I'm sure we're going to get horrendous takes from people claiming that the casual fans are going to be confused that it wasn't explained why. You got to be living so far under the world's heaviest rock.
My mom texted me saying, "What's up with CM Punk?" Come on.
Yeah, so get ready for those takes.
Casual fan, they don't know.
If they're not out already,
Yeah. I'm sure they are.
I'm sure that one's going to be out there. But you got anything else on this? I mean,
I think I'm kind of good at this point.
Because we did a lot of it on Sunday, and if we hadn't done the show on Sunday, we'd have a lot more to well, maybe not, because there's so much new information now that a lot of what we were doing on Sunday was speculating on what was going to happen over the next few days. And now the next few days have happened. So now we're just waiting on an official word to see who's suspended, who's going to be allowed to come back to work, and who's going to be fired. So I guess that's where we're at now, right?
We're there. Yes. We'll see what happens next. I mean, I guess the next thing would be, if anybody does get fired, and if and when we have a return date for those that were listed in the suspensions, so your Omegas, your Matt Nick Jacksons, your Pat Bucks, your Christopher Daniels, Nakazawa, Brandon Cutler. I mean, that to me is the next big thing. Like the Punk and Steel stuff. Like, I can't imagine those guys just waltz back in on, next week. They're not just walking into Dynamite in Albany and saying, "Hey, how's it going, guys? How are you?" You know what I mean? Like, those guys are but when do those dudes, the other guys, when do they feel comfortable enough bringing those guys back? Guys that maybe didn't, depending on how you want to phrase it, didn't instigate the fight itself, but maybe participated in the fight or ramped it up to another level, particularly Omega and the Bucks as being EVPs. Maybe they should not have done that, or maybe we'll get a little bit more of the legal ramifications of this too, because supposedly there were Turner executives and AEW executives beyond just the wrestlers that were also in the room too, and some people saying that the Bucks got the her name escapes me and I feel bad for not remembering her name, but it was like the head of the legal department. They got her with them, and then they walked into the room, and in which case that seems like, okay, now that's a little bit more of a, hey, we just want to talk about this thing or whatever. I doubt you're like, hey, lawyer, get in here with us because we're gonna kick CM Punk's ass. Like that's probably, but I don't know. It's just so strange and weird, and I guess we're gonna get a little bit more about that in the next few days. But yeah, the next domino to fall is who gets fired first, or does anybody get fired, and when do we have a return date for these guys? Or maybe they're just on ice for 2 months. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just a while, and they just kind of say, you know what, we're going to prove that we can do it without you guys. So if you guys want to come back to work, prove to us that you can come back to work, and prove that you're going to be okay, and all that sort of stuff, and then we'll bring you back. But for now, you know what, we're fine. We just had a great Dynamite. We just had a sold out Arthur Ashe Stadium. Yada yada yada. We don't really need you guys right now. So when you're ready to come back, then we'll decide the time's right. But for right now, we're doing okay without you. So I don't know. It's gonna be fascinating.
You're talking about Mega Parikh. She's the Jaguars in AEW. And Meltzer is saying she saw the fight.
Okay.
So
the one version of the story, and again, like I said, you always have to listen to it. One version of the story is that Matt and Nick were like, "Come with us. We're gonna, talk to Punk or whatever." And then another version is that she saw the fight. So
right,
is that her running down a hallway realizing that there's a fight happening, or is it truly Kenny and the Bucks saying, "Hey, come along with us so we can talk to Punk about this"?
Right, and you're gonna get different versions based on whose camp you're hearing.
Right. Like the Young Bucks camp is probably the, hey, we're just going to grab this lawyer and go talk to Punk and see if we can settle this, man to man, break bread.
As officers of the company, we were just bringing the second in command with us to discuss these matters. And, and the other story is that they were pounding on the door and then super kicked it open. And and that's obviously
I can't believe that story. Of all the stories, I can't believe that one. And
that would obviously be taken as an act of aggression, I would say, if I'm in that room.
Super kick. Yeah, they got Nakazawa's got their song, Cutler's got their song playing on their phone. As they walk to the room.
Yeah,
super kick party.
Cutler with the mask. In the camera.
The cold spray in Punk's face. Yeah, that'd be incredible. Maybe I do care about this fight. Only if we fantasy book it that way, and then I'm in. So,
yeah. The fact that Ace Steel was sent home and not fired.
Well, yeah. Ace is probably, out of all these people, Ace probably got to go, right?
He doesn't come across well in any version.
No version of the story results.
No, I will say this. Allegedly, his wife was in the room with a broken foot.
Okay.
So
so things are going down. He's like, hey, fucking get away. Like,
I will say, if my wife is in a room with a broken foot and 200-pound men are throwing each other around, I'll brain someone with a chair too. I'll say it. I mean, I'd probably do that too, but I don't know if that's exactly how, because all the other versions are he threw the chair and hit Nick in the face, and but I would protect my injured wife from turbulence going on around me. So if that, again, this is why it's so dumb to speculate on the fights. It's just so stupid. It's you're going to get different versions even from the people that were there, let alone the people that got secondhand versions who then, through telephone game added or deleted their own details to suit, the narrative that they want out there or whatever. So, I'm glad I'm not the one that has to investigate it, but there's people who do that sort of thing professionally that can kind of get to the bottom of these kind of details, and we'll find out who the aggressors were and what went down, and hopefully we'll find out soon. I mean, I don't know. This drama doesn't bother me as a fan. It's interesting. You don't want to see people beating each other up, obviously, but from a standpoint of is all this shit interesting? I mean, it certainly has shaken up the company. Who's the MJF is a true victim here. I mean, what the fuck did that guy do? His fucking main event program got blown up. He didn't do shit. In fact, one version I heard, he was trying to break it up. So that guy's big story with Punk is out the window.
Oh man, yeah. I think we got an hour and a half of it. Yeah, I think we're good. I got everything I need.
Maybe that's why MJF was trying to break it up. He saw money flying.
Yeah, whoa, come on, my story.
Cooler heads, guys.
My story, come on.
Yeah. I can't lose Punk, but then again, Punk's injured anyway. He's gone anyway.
Right.
Like that's like he was going to be gone anyway. So that whole thing got blown the fuck up.
Which also brings up a bigger point too about like, all right, even if cooler heads prevail eventually after 6 or 7 months or whatever, this guy cannot stay healthy anymore.
Good point. This is twice now.
Yeah,
like he can't have a physical match without suffering.
He can't have big time main event matches anymore. Clearly,
I mean, it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue. I mean, if this is it for him, he was there exactly a year. It was a pretty phenomenal run. I mean,
I saw a lot of the matches live, and they were great.
A bunch of great matches, a bunch of great moments, some of the most memorable moments in company history, some of the most memorable moments in this era of wrestling. I mean, what was the Rampage called? Last Dance, Second Dance, First Dance?
Last Dance.
Whatever the fuck it was called.
First Dance. Not Last Dance. First Dance.
Last Dance is the Jordan gimmick.
Yes,
First Dance is what they were playing off of. So First Dance, and then, all the great promos, the feud with MJF, which was a classic. So you can't say that if this is it for him, it didn't deliver. I mean, he delivered he helped them to their first $1 million gate, which he was quick to remind people of during his rant. He helped draw a number of $1 million gates, and he obviously popped ratings and sold a shit ton of t-shirts. So from a business perspective, it was a win. From a performance perspective, he had a bunch of great matches, a bunch of great promos, a bunch of great memorable moments. I mean, you can't bury the run that he had. That you can't do.
Oh, no. Business-wise, I mean, biggest business for AEW for a while, and match-wise, and promo-wise, and story-wise. I mean, a lot of this stuff was really, really good. A lot of the stories now, there's been a lot of people like going back and finding old promos and stuff of Eddie Kingston and John Moxley. And it's like, yeah, I think I had imagined more of the locker room was probably on the Bucks side. Every story was like, Punk, you're a snake and I don't trust your ass. You know what I mean? You're a miserable fuck. Like every story in this entire company was about how miserable of a punk, he's bad. It was just really, really funny. Eddie Kingston saying, "No, I used to look up to you, but now I don't. Now I know you're just this fucking snake. You're an asshole." And then Moxley saying, "You're mentally weak. You're physically weak." So I'm like, man, this guy's been just getting destroyed for a year straight by all these promos. But
I gotta tell you, everyone keeps pulling up his tweet, support your coworker deal.
Yeah.
Even Freezing Cold's Takes.
I saw Freezing Cold Takes got involved in it. Yeah, good for them. They're gonna have a busy. They always have a busy little. This is their busy year, and they're still getting in the wrestling game. So good for them.
The quote. That's not the quote I would throw in his face. The quote that I would throw in Punk's face is the apology needs to be as loud and public as the disrespect.
Yes, because oh my man, if he's going to apologize about this stuff, oh boy.
Oh,
Give
here's
him a whole
mic.
Rampage. CM Punk speaks Rampage this Friday.
Here's a mic, champ. Get to it. You know what I mean?
Hit the mic, boom, boom, boom. All yours, pal. Yeah. Tony Khan comes out to start off an episode of Rampage. Tonight on Rampage, CM Punk, they show the tweet on the big screen and go, all right, all yours, buddy.
That wasn't even that's what he said after he called out Hangman.
Yeah.
His grandstand Hangman challenge, and then he said the apology needs to be as loud and public as the disrespect. And then he moved on to Moxley. Well, if that's the case, hit that music, and he's got to come down the ring, and
it's gonna be a long segment.
Be very loud and be very public about his apology. So that this guy has a bevy of quotes that are just being thrown in his face now.
It's pretty bad.
So it's crazy. A fucking poor dog sitting in that room.
Yeah, let's think about the dog. That dog had a bad day. Larry had a bad day.
Hey, well, that one version. Omega rescues the dog
out of a burning building. I don't know. The building started burning at some point. We have no idea when that happened, but yeah, he rescued the dog out of a burning building. The third, it was, I believe, on the roof of the Now Arena too. So congratulations to Kenny Omega.
Rich, of course, being facetious, but I seriously read a version of the fight where he he went in to get Larry.
To be fair, I could see that, right?
And then he went to hand off Larry to someone, and then Ace Steel started biting him. There's a version of the story that is.
I could see that version for sure, right?
And then he had every intention of just being like a peacemaker, but then got involved. So
we need Larry's side of the story.
Man, you got Ace Steel's wife with a broken foot. You got a dog. These people have nothing to do with. Leave the dog and the wife out of this. What they do. What awful circumstances for the dog and the wife to be caught in the middle of all this. Who knows? Maybe she's swinging her crutch at everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's
maybe
not,
Larry.
Yeah, don't assume that she's out of this thing. Yeah, she had weapons, and Larry could be biting everybody too.
Larry could.
Maybe Larry bit everybody that thought it was Ace Steel, and they're like, no, it was Larry that bit me.
Maybe Larry's got a mouthful of Cutler's ass cheek. And he's. Right. We don't know. It's chicanery back there.
Wrestling's so fucking dumb.
No, but it's also
great. It's the greatest and the dumbest thing ever. That's why I always tell people when people are like, oh, I'm disappointed by wrestling. I'm like, don't let yourself get disappointed by wrestling. Wrestling is the scummiest, dumbest, just weirdest business ever, but it's also tremendous. You love it for a reason. Don't stop loving it, because the reason you love it is because of all these same things, because it's weird and unique and strange and yeah, there are always people that get into wrestling and think, oh man, this is cool, and then eventually go, wow, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be, and that's going to happen. That a lot of people will come and go, but those deep down wrestling fans, people that have been watching it their entire lives, this is what it is. It's a scumbag business. It's a carny ass professional lying business, and it fucking rules. So.
It's men who take themselves way too seriously. Right. And this is what it leads to.
Right. Yeah, all this is so dumb. Try to explain any of this to a normal human being.
I thought about it, and I'm like, should I explain all this to my wife? And then I went through it in my head. I'm like, I cannot do it.
Like, how do you explain start? Yeah.
Yeah, where do you start with Punk and Colt, and then it's just, you can't. A normal human, there's just too much to, you can't do it. Because it's not normal. They're just going to stare at you glassy-eyed, like, what? What?
It's so good. It's so good. This business rocks.
How do I explain that CM Punk felt like Hangman Page was undercutting the babyface? I can't explain that.
Right. So what happened was Chick Magnet Punk was in the ring, and Hangman Adam Page said "workers' rights," and that was actually a reference to a long-standing rivalry between Chick Magnet Punk and his fellow wrestling trainee Scott Colt Cabana. It's been actually going on for quite a while. Yeah.
But Punk felt that as a babyface, that he was made to look like...
As a good guy, he was made to look like a bad guy, and he thought that affected the build to their upcoming professional wrestling match in a couple days.
They might not draw as much money as possible, and you can't. You have to get in the whole history of drawing money.
And they've already left the room. They've already left the room, and they're on their phone, or they're just thinking, my God, I'm married to this thing that's explaining this to me. So
they already don't care. It's just, totally boring. It's the most fascinating thing to us, but anyone who's not involved in it would think it's just the most boring. Like, why are you wasting your time with this nonsense? That's what it is. We got some other topics,
right?
We
do have some other topics.
Oh, well, I guess we should talk about the show drew another $1 million gate. Okay, so bravo for that. Khan said it will not match last year's buy rate, but it would exceed 150,000 buys. So once again, the accurate pay-per-view predictor, Joe Lanza, was right on the money once again with the I think I'm going to retire from pay-per-view predicting. I mean, you got to
like you win so much. Yeah, you're like Jordan after the 6th title. It's like I'm good. I
like Costanza, go out on top.
Yeah.
George Costanza, just go out on top. I just my fingers too much on this pulse, Rich. Anything else from a business perspective that doesn't have anything to do with the melee? I don't think so. The combo tickets was probably a poor idea.
That was not a good idea. Yeah, having, and I will say, and I talked about it a couple weeks ago, asking a group of wrestling fans, a group of Chicago wrestling fans in particular, to go to 3 shows in 6 nights in Hoffman Estates, which is nowhere near where anybody lives. It's near where I live. I don't live very near wherever a bunch of other people live. A lot of people that are going to those shows live nowhere fucking near Hoffman Estates. So having them go 3 nights in 6 days, a horrific idea. Did not work at all. I could see people going to Dynamite. I could see people going to the pay-per-view. If you wanted to combo those tickets, I could see that. That's Wednesday and that's Sunday. You can justify that. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, that's never going to work. And I had buddies who were just giving away Rampage tickets. I don't know what I did not actually see what the crowd looked like on Rampage, but I can just tell you that tickets were very available for Rampage. So that show seemed like the one that was the biggest victim of everything. People went to Dynamite, obviously all out. When I was there in the building, I did not see any empty seats, really. I mean, other than the production kills, there was maybe a scattered few seats here and there. Could have been people going to get popcorn or whatever while I was there. But for the most part, that building was completely full on Sunday, as full as it could possibly be. So they did well on Sunday. From everything I heard, the Rampage did okay, but there were also large amounts of the Rampage or the Dynamite crowd that were a little light, and then Rampage. I heard from everybody else, from people that told me that I've heard the word just sparse, dire, whatever. Like, it wasn't good. Rampage was not good. So that was a very, very bad idea. If you're gonna do that combo ticket, if that thing was in the United Center or Wintrust Arena, I think you can pull off the combo ticket. If this thing is going to be in Madison Square Garden, you can pull off the combo ticket. If this thing's going to be in a major metropolis downtown arena, I think you can pull this off. If you're going to have it out in the suburbs, and particularly this suburb, I don't think you're going to be able to pull off the combo tickets thing ever again.
One more thing from the presser, and this kind of is getting ignored because of, I'm doing the hand gesture. So look around. This is why this piece of the presser is being ignored. But Tony Khan was set off by the idea that WWE stacked this weekend with shows, including the NXT show, compared himself to Jim Crockett, said, but I have a lot more money than Jim Crockett.
That was a great
And I'm paraphrasing. He went on to say, and I'm not going to take this fucking shit anymore, with vitriol in his voice and crazy eyes. Rich, and I guess this is a good transition to a new topic. Has WWE poked an $8 billion bear?
We've talked about that since day one. Like, for all these people who are like, Vince McMahon and WWE, they're a juggernaut.
Vince McMahon is worth a little over $2 billion. And he's embroiled in a sex scandal and probably doesn't have much time left in this world. Let's be honest. He's 77 years old. The Khans can buy and sell the McMahons with a finger snap.
Like 4 times over, too.
Yeah. And when you're talking billions 4 times over, I'm not sure people understand the difference between 8 billion and 2 billion. Like, because people, I don't think, have a good idea. Have you ever seen like those visual graphs of what $1 billion looks like?
It's absurd, yeah.
Compared to like $100,000, and it's like we're talking 8 billion versus 2 billion. And we've talked, much like we talked about from the start of AEW, do you want to inject the poison of Punk into your locker room? And well, I'm gesturing again, Rich. Here's what could happen when you inject the poison of Punk into your locker room, okay? Played nice for a year. We have also always talked about, will WWE eventually poke the $8 billion bear and make this thing personal? And you really don't want to make things personal with people who can buy and sell you. That's a dangerous game to play. And Tony Khan has been fiscally responsible to this point, and he's running it like a business. But if he feels like they're getting petty, and he doesn't like hearing Triple H tell Ariel Helwani, well, they beat our developmental brand. I don't know if I'd poke that bear. WWE has the high ground. They got a massive lead. The two companies aren't even in a comparable position. We all know that. Maybe leave well enough alone. It's like, how many pay-per-view buys do you think you took from them by airing NXT Worlds Collide a couple hours earlier? I mean, not many. Not many people said, that's enough wrestling for me today. I was going to order that. It was funny
that the Justin Barrasso piece did mention something. I forget the exact wording. But yeah, it was like absurd because I'm like, I don't think anybody finished Worlds Collide and said, well, I was going to purchase that pay-per-view, but I am satiated. My professional wrestling for the day is satiated. Honey, what do you want to watch on TV? I was going to watch All Out, but I'm good. I just saw Tyler Bate and Braun Breaker. I'm good.
Call the cable company and cancel that all out because I have seen enough wrestling
cracks his
today.
Knuckles and goes, wow, that's enough pro wrestling for me tonight.
Adjusting the waist on the pants and saying, you know what hit the spot for me? Dewdrop. I've had enough today. That didn't, tiny numbers at best. And I'm not even sure they counter-programmed. I don't even know if that's the case. I don't even know for sure if WWE went through the thought process of, I'm not even sure they thought about that. But Khan thinks they did. And that's really all that matters. And if you look in his eyes, he's got the crazy eyes when he says that. I would not fuck with that kind of money. Because they got money to burn. They could just fucking do all kinds of crazy shit to counter-program you. Just spiteful, dumb shit that is bad for business. But this is how wrestling wars eventually go. We all know this. Right down to local indies calling the fire departments on each other.
Right.
Stealing
rings in the middle of the night and shit, yeah.
Is this what we've done? Have we poked the $8 billion bear? Is that what we're doing here? I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Yeah, I wonder, people in the Noto chat room are trying to think of, like, what would the counteract be? Do you have any idea what that, if you're our, $11 billion net worth Khan family, like, how do you counteract that? Like, what do you do in your head if you're like, you know what, fuck these guys, we're doing X?
Start booking stadiums before they can get their big shows in them. Start buying stadiums so they can't put their shows in.
Yeah, well,
all the shit that Vince McMahon has done over the years.
Right, I was going to say get exclusivity with stadiums. I think one of the things, Trevor Dame brings this up. He says, Tony likes to see himself as a bigger Crockett, and the Crockett move would be to run a loaded Battle of the Belts Clash for free against a WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah. I mean,
that's probably the play. That's probably the first play there. In an old school wrestling sense, just load up a gigantic, huge show. Bill Dixon brings up a good point. Freeze WWE out of NFL stadiums.
Yeah,
Shaq could call those guys and say, "Hey, you're not going to let play any have any events in your stadiums anymore." This guy. So
forget the money. Look at the friends.
Look at the connections. The friends. Yeah.
And
Flexing Gate, he can not allow, I forget who they supply, but do not sell cars to these wrestlers. Wrestlers are fucked. No more Toyotas for any of you.
it's, you know, it could even be something as simple as just offering ridiculous sums of money to free agent wrestlers.
Right. Call Brock tomorrow and just give him $20 and say, Brock, show up on Wednesday for here's $20 million. And I mean, I don't know if I would do that. It seems like a bad move too, but you know, hey.
Yeah, that's my whole point with agitating billionaires to the point where they don't care if they waste their money anymore is not something you probably want to do, you know, and WWE can't really play that same game as a publicly traded company. They have to be fiscally responsible. That's why we've always talked about this. One guy runs a private business and has 4, 5, 6 times the money. The other company has to be run in a fiscally responsible way. So if it ever got down to a dick measuring contest or a pissing match or you know, old school dirty tactics, one side has every advantage. So you know, that's something else to think about. And you know, even on the media call when, you know, he gave that really short answer. Some radio station asked about the Forbidden Door.
The Rock. It was The Rock in Dayton, Ohio, wasn't it? It was something like that.
Yeah, The Rock of Dayton, Ohio.
It was a good question for like 94.7 The Rock. Like, how's it going? I'm rocking Rich, and this is Jack and Joe, and we're here on WNIK. Dayton's The Rock, like playing all the great classic rock.
We're doing 2 for Tuesday. That means 2 from Led Zeppelin coming up.
Right.
It's
you've been requested Van Morrison, and here it is. But we come back, the 8th caller. You know, then they do morning Zeus shit. Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock. It's quitting time. That means 48 straight minutes of music. You know,
we're rocking on the rock. Dun, 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 dun. You know, like, I love it. Yeah. God, I wish I was a fucking just generic radio guy. What a life.
But that was legitimately who asked the question.
Yes, it was 97.9 The Rock or whatever. Well, I'm going to get the exact station it was. But
so the question was, will the Forbidden Door open with WWE now that Vince is at it?
Yeah, great.
And well, it led to
It was a not that good question, but led to a great answer. So
yeah, because then Tony said, "Well, I thought," and paraphrasing, I have the exact answer in my report, but he said something like, "Well, I thought so, but the way they've treated me lately, I'm less confident in that." And then there was this awkward pause. Thank you, and you know, Tony, he wants to talk.
Somebody say something, please.
But he gave a 1-sentence answer to that, filled with vitriol, and then his demeanor completely changed for the rest of the media call. He was a completely different person. It agitated him thinking about it, and it was very similar in tone to the scrum the other night when he said that he's not going to take this fucking shit anymore. And everyone was like, "Whoa, okay, man, we believe you," you know. You know, he could have been also stewing over what was going on in the back because I think Jericho tipped him off to what had happened when he left the stage. But something else to think about. Is the war going to get dirty now? So, you know, and this is Triple H's dream because now he has the high ground. You know, he got beat by this guy once and he can downplay it all he wants. That, you know, it bothers Triple H that he got beat by this guy. And
it's developmental. It's fine.
Yeah, of course.
It's not what it was. That's what it was 2 years ago, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm sure this will be our lead topic for weeks to come.
I don't think it's going away. I don't think it's just everyone's.
It's been our lead topic for weeks headed in.
I know, yeah.
So, just think, Rich, the dominoes that fell here. Me being very suspicious of a Hangman Page promo has led to all of this down the pike. So it's my astute ears. It's those perfectly honed instincts. I try to tell people.
You were right. On that night, you said it.
I know. You kept wanting to change the subject. I'm like, Rich, I've got something here. And you're like, oh my God.
I mean, it went on for like 45 minutes, but it ended up being breaking an entire company. The company is now dead because of it. So
because you're afraid of 19-year-old communists that are listening, and you think that they're all going to get mad. Okay, but you know, perfectly honed instincts. Winning again. What do we got next?
Well, we got
a bunch of shows you didn't watch.
A bunch of shows I didn't watch and some news that we're going to talk about as well. So the shows can go quickly, which thank God, because we've gone 2 hours on this. But
can they?
I think they can. But,
I have a lot to say.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can have the floor will be yours. I'm going to do some laundry, pet some dogs. I'll be good. But I do have to let you know this episode of the Flagship Podcast is brought to you by our friends at HelloFresh. And if you have a packed schedule this fall, HelloFresh has meals covered with a weekly selection of 30+ recipes and 70+ convenient items, all delivered to your door. Now more than ever, we're all looking for ways to save some money. In fact, HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout and is even cheaper than grocery shopping too. Enjoy the freshest fall flavors. Every HelloFresh recipe includes ripe, just picked produce that travels from the farm to your door in less than a week. And fall is also the perfect time to cozy up with some delicious sweets. Get the whole family involved with HelloFresh's limited edition, kid-friendly baking kits. And HelloFresh is not just for desserts. You can shop at the HelloFresh Market for quick breakfasts, wholesome snacks, and even desserts. You'll find everything you need to satisfy your cravings without stepping foot in the grocery store or the mini mart. And HelloFresh works on your schedule. Plans are flexible, and you can change your meal preferences, update your delivery day, and even change your address with just a few taps on the HelloFresh app. So now the big part here is you're going to want to go to HelloFresh.com/VOW16 and use our promo code VOW16, and that's going to get you 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. And that is incredibly important this time of year. I'm the person that summer-wise, I took a little time off from HelloFresh in the summer because I like barbecue and I just like coming home and throwing something on the grill, eating it real quick. But in the fall and in the winter, I want some heartier meals. I want some variety in my life, and that is where HelloFresh comes in. And they're more than happy to fit into your hectic fall weekend schedule, fall weeknight schedule, I should say, with schools and practices and all that sort of stuff. You're all good. HelloFresh.com/VOW16. Use that promo code VOW16 and you'll get started with 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. Again, it's HelloFresh.com/VOW16 and use that promo code VOW16. 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Hey, how about Bob Fish challenging Punk to a fight?
A non-wrestling fight. Did you see that? He clarified a non-wrestling fight.
Yeah, any discipline Punk would like.
Whatever. You want to go judo. You want to go. I love
boxing.
Any discipline. Yeah, mixed. It could be mixed too. You know,
Muay Thai. Anything you want, Punk. And he's been
Taekwondo, Hapkido. If you want Hapkido, I'm
anything.
Down.
Yeah. Thumb wrestling.
Slap fighting.
And he's been burying Punk for weeks.
Yeah, Bob is really trying to get involved in this all.
Making fun of him on Twitter for his kicks and just shitting all over the guy. And you know, he did kick out at 3.1 from that go to sleep way back when. You know, and that was kind of weird.
We talked about it. Remember, we talked about that. How that was.
We did talk about
put a pin in that boy. That's a little weird. So.
And now, you know, he didn't get his contract renewed because I guess Kyle O'Reilly's got the neck fusion deal that's going to keep him out like a year. So, you know, I guess they either just didn't see a use for Fish, or there's some dark Twitter stuff going around with them not renewing him either. That, you know, but the point is, he spent all that time. And by the way, it has nothing to do with the QAnon stuff from years ago or anything like that. There's just something else out there floating around. But he's burying the guy for weeks, and then his contract's up on August 30. Or how many days? 30 days has September, April, June, and November. August 31st, his contract is up, and then he's out there on his podcast just flat out challenging the guy to a fight. Unbelievable, this Bob Fish. Now, Punk's never going to accept. You know, it's total grandstanding.
Maybe.
I don't think that'd be a good. I think Fish would wreck him. That's not a good idea for Punk. Fish has been in sanctioned fights and won.
Yeah. He would. It would not.
I don't like Punk's chances. He said any weight. He goes, you tell me how much
catch
you want
weight.
me
We're
to
gonna
weigh?
catch weight.
He's like, we'll do a catch weight.
Do a catch weight Hapkido. I don't care.
Yeah. He's like, I like the Bucks. They're my friends, and I don't like you, and we can fight. Just tell me the time, place, and tell me how much I have to weigh. Okay? Listen, I don't know. I got respect for that. That's just calling a man out.
There's no beating around the bush. There's no passive aggressive out of Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't even say he's just trying to make himself part of the story or anything, because he's been burying Punk for weeks.
Right.
Like before this ever happened, he's just been burying the fucking guy. And for all we know, that's why he didn't get renewed. Maybe it has something to do with maybe he's challenging the guy to fight to the back, and maybe that, who knows? But man, he doesn't like that guy. And he wants to fight him. So Bob Fish coming to an indie near you.
doing judo.
Yeah. So that's another factor here. There's so many webs and tentacles.
Oh, it's so big. Yeah, this is what, when you bring in CM Punk, like, and go back. I listen to our old shows because a lot of people are like, "Oh, you need to bring back clips from your old shows." There's a lot. Go back and listen to like the shows from a year ago. That's all I'll tell you. Like, nothing was like easily clippable. It was very long discussions. Very, nothing that we could bring back for the beginning of the show or whatever. But like, we're all like, every caveat that we bring about Punk is like, hey, there's this, and then we're always like, yeah, but he is CM Punk. He just makes everybody around him miserable. Like at some point during the whole CM Punk thing, no matter what he's doing, no matter where he's at, it's just eventually everybody just starts hating the guy. And he will have a few allies here and there, but for the most part, a lot of people just start hating him, and a lot of his friends start despising him, and he loses a lot of friends a lot. They come and go. It's just this guy. It's just, he comes in and he just burns it all down. He's so good that you let it happen. But man, it's so funny to see it all happen again, and we all knew it was going to happen eventually. But I'll be honest, it lasted longer than I thought. If you listen to our old shows, I thought we were like 3 or 4 months in before Punk's like, I ain't losing to that motherfucker. Like, that MJF guy is a punk. I don't like his ass. It was pretty good. Like, we actually got about 8 months out of Punk.
It lasted so long that we even did a show where we were like, oh man, should we apologize to Punk? He's behaving himself. We actually had that discussion one time.
Yeah, we did.
Where we're like, oh, maybe we should apologize to Punk. You notice Fish went after FTR too. He's like, the quote was like, "Fuck it, I'll name names. FTR. I don't like those guys either. I'd be professional if I had to work with them, but I don't like those motherfuckers." So, and they're obviously tied in with Punk, and Tony Khan really dropped the ball. First of all, we never got Red Dragon versus Young Bucks, not one time. And Rich, this is a fact. Do you know that Red Dragon wrestled exactly 2 tag team matches in AEW?
I do, 2. Yeah. Fred Moreland wrote an article for VoiceOfWrestling.com about that, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Look, here's the link to Cage Match." And I was like, "What? Excuse me?"
They had 1 3-way tag, 1 tag team battle royal, and only 2 traditional 2 versus 2 tag team matches their entire time in the company.
That's wild.
One was a squash on dark, and the other was against the fucking Land of the Lost Dorks. Jurassic Express, or whatever their name is. That's it. Never got the Young Bucks match. Now, I know that both of those guys were in and out, injured, but there was a solid 4 to 6 month period where they were both healthy and both available. And that's something where Khan just dropped the ball. I mean, they're a tag team. Now, they did put over the Jungle Express, or Lucha Express, what's the name of that tag? Lucha Express.
Jurassic
Express. They did put them over on Dynamite, but realistically, Red Dragon should have put over a bunch of different teams. They should have wrestled as a team way more than they did. They should have put over a bunch of teams with Fish taking the fall, because I know they like O'Reilly as a singles guy. Fish is 46 years old. He's the pin eater of the team. They should have lost a bunch of matches to a bunch of other tag teams, whether it was the Acclaimed, whether it was the Young Bucks, whether it was the Lucha Brothers, whether it was fucking whoever the fuck. Okay, and it just didn't happen. And that's a dropped ball. That was a missed opportunity. They could have some great matches too, and it just that was one of the victims of just, I guess, deep roster and whatever the fuck, just forgetting you have some people on hand.
Well, and Fred brought it up in his piece as well, that like, and it's something you've rallied against too. Like, sometimes Tony is very conservative in his booking, and he's always holding off for, well, I'll do that eventually, or I got time. We're seeing you don't have as much time as you might think with some of these guys. You know, everybody didn't sign on the dotted line and say, I'm with you now for the next 10 years. Let's do this thing. Like, Malachi Black is another guy that apparently, reports are as of today that he has been granted his release, and that's not official yet. So I'm not gonna go through that right now. We'll have time to maybe do that next week if it becomes official. But like, that's a guy who, maybe you had some matches that you wanted out of him. Well, now you're done. Bobby Fish and is done. Kyle O'Reilly is hurt. So okay, now you're not getting anything out of Red Dragon and Punk's presumably maybe. So there was maybe some match, like these things are. No, do you need to book every single dream match right off the gates? No, but you maybe need to be a little bit more aggressive about, okay, we got this guy, we got him for X amount of time, here's the matches that we need to do. You know what I mean? We had him for a year or whatever. Let's just don't assume that these guys are going to be here forever and that you have all the time in the world to book these matches.
Yeah, it's that's a big thing in MMA where the theory is if we have the money match now, there's no need to put it off another second. Just book it because
right.
you
the
never
guy's going to lose. The guy's going to get hurt. You don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think in pro wrestling, you have a little more leeway in that you can control the outcomes, but you can't control injuries. You can't control me gesturing again. The shit that's been happening in this company over the last, there's some things you cannot control. So, I think Tony. On one hand, it's good to be a little conservative and hold some of the matches back for your most important moments. But on the other hand, you do eventually have to shit or get off the pot with some of this stuff. There's a lot of, like, if Punk never wrestles for them again, there's a lot of matches that got left on the table. And Red Dragon, they're not huge stars or anything like that, but they clearly would have been useful in the way that I described. Having short television feuds with these teams. And instead they were used as Adam Cole's, lackeys, for lack of a better term, which, but they still could have done all those things while being aligned with Adam Cole. How did the Young Bucks match never happen? They even started building towards it. Maybe the injuries, but again, that's more reason to just fucking do it. Do it on the main event of they could have done that match. Had plenty of time to do that match. So, maybe some lessons to be learned there for Mr. Khan as he sees injury. He had a nightmare year for injuries, a nightmare year for all this extracurricular shit. Maybe he will be a little more proactive in doing money matches when he has them on the table.
Are you ready for some groundbreaking breaking news here, Joe?
Oh, I am always ready for
That's not
live
that
breaking news.
Okay, reel it in again.
What the fuck, man? You can't, get my nipples all hard and then.
You know what? Maybe this will make your nipples hard. New Japan Pro Wrestling is proud to announce the November launch of New Japan Tamashii. Yes, Tamashii, I believe is how you pronounce it. A new brand that will see New Japan names compete in Australia and New Zealand, as well as highlight the very best in Australian talent.
Well, Rich, because I am plugged in with friends in high places, I already knew this.
The listeners didn't know that, sir.
You're not telling me anything I don't know, but you can go ahead and keep explaining this to the police.
That's all. That's done.
Yeah. So basically, New Japan's strong in Oceania.
Yes, correct. There you go. Yeah. Coming to the most depleted scene imaginable at this point, that everybody hates each other. Nobody is there. Everybody's retiring and leaving. So a good time to go there to jump into the scene. But hey, maybe they'll revitalize that a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. But pretty cool announcement there from New Japan. And good. Yeah, we might see some Tony Kozina, right? Some work for the Wheelman maybe coming up.
Listen, the Wheelman's going to be... he's
center.
office.
He's office. Yeah, front and center in this whole thing. So good for Wheelman.
Wheelman, kick it around, Wheelman. Yeah, man. So eventually that was going to happen. That's why we're stuck with Fale forever. I mean, he's got the dojo down there in New Zealand. So, and that's why he's not exactly the most high effort guy. He's locked in, man. He's got himself a good gig. So I've got some Australian matches in the queue that I'm going to review soon. I've been, we got to catch back up with Australia.
We do have to. Maybe this is a good opportunity to catch back in Australia because there's some things happening. Not all of them positive, but there's
starting
to
get
happening.
Back going.
Yeah, it's starting to get back going. But yeah, a lot of the companies that kind of made Australian wrestling are now not exactly making Australian wrestling, but there's some new companies that have popped up in the last a few years or the last year or so.
Dust is starting to settle.
Yes. Some new companies are arriving and in the smoldering mass, maybe leading us forward. But that is that news about New Japan. Quickly, let's go to Noah here. This week, Noah announced that Keiji Muto's retirement tour will end on Tuesday, February 21st, as Noah returns to the Tokyo Dome for the first time since one of the best shows of all time, Noah Destiny 2005. So we have left on Noah's retirement tour September 25th, October 30th, January 22nd at Yokohama Arena. That's the final Great Muta match. And then on February 21st at the Tokyo Dome, Keiji Muto Grand Final Pro Wrestling Last Love Holdout.
Okay, so we have to give Noah some credit because they've gotten some things right. Number one,
they got the final match, which we
were
very worried that they somehow, some way, Keiji was going to hustle them and then do his own produce show, or New Japan was going to host his final night, but that did not happen.
Right, and New Japan was angling for it, and they sent Great Okan to the N1 final to work the 6-man tag with Muta and with Great Muta. What a 6-man team. Great Okan, Great Muta, and Nosawa Rongai. It was a happening, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. But give Noah credit. They got the match, okay? And presumably, the Muta stuff is kind of cooling off if you look at some of the ticket sales and whatnot. We'll see. But the final match in the Dome, and who knows what kind of restrictions there'll be and all that bullshit. But give Noah credit. They kept it in-house, and they got the alleged final match. I did try to preface by saying maybe the final match of Keiji Muto, because you never. The final match of this run, it is pro wrestling, but and they got the in a good transition. I mean, they got the N1 right. I mean, I picked Kaito Kiyomiya to win the tournament at the start, and he came out of the gate and lost immediately to Jack Morris, as they wanted to establish that guy. And then there was some embarrassing moments along the way. The Masakatsu Funaki match where, Funaki reluctantly did the job and then slapped the kid in the face after the match and humiliated him. And just the usual Noah bullshit. And when I saw him in the final matched up with Hideki Suzuki, I was like, oh, well, maybe he's not going to win, because it all comes down to whether Suzuki is going to do business. But he did. And not only that, but it was a great match. I went 4.5. Kaito Kiyomiya, I tell you, he very few wrestlers work harder. He works so hard, and you really, it's impossible not to root for him and get behind him as a performer and as a person, because man, he makes these old guys and Noah look like $1 million no matter who he's in there with. He does his best when he's in there with Muto. He gets what he can out of him. This was a great match against Hideki Suzuki with some tremendous drama. I managed to watch it unspoiled, some great near falls. Suzuki was great in the match. I don't think I've ever seen Hideki Suzuki wrestle this well. He was, and I've been a critic of his, but he was very good here. And, he did the clean job. It took 2 of the Shining Wizards. He kind of, Kiyomiya does the Shining Wizard that he stole, not stole, but, inherited from Muto. And he also has his own special version of the Shining Wizard that doesn't look as good. So he had to hit him with it twice, but Hideki also let him kick out of his shit. He kicked out of that double underhook suplex, and it was a great match with no bullshit. And a lot of the Kaito Kiyomiya matches in this tournament were loaded with old guy bullshit. This one wasn't. So great match, and the right guy won, and he'll face Kano, and I think he's probably going to beat Kano. But Kaito Kiyomiya and Kano is one of my favorite rivalries in wrestling. I will never miss it when those two guys get in the ring together.
No, and they've made some magic too.
Yeah, and Kiyomiya's on fire, and Kano is great. And the other guy is, Kano and Nakajima are the other two that I will never miss it when those two guys wrestle. But, so yeah, there you go. I think Kiyomiya will win. I don't think it's a disaster if he doesn't win. But we pick on Noah, and we're really hard on Noah, but you have to give him credit this week. The right guy won the tournament, and Hideki Suzuki did a professional job and really gave the kid a lot and let him kick out of all of his shit. And they got the Muta match. So good for Noah. It's a good week for them. And it shows that, We've got no problem being fair when it's warranted. All positive news coming out of there this week.
All right, what's going on, guys? Just take a quick break here from the Flagship Podcast to let you know about our friends at Drizzly. And if you look for it, every day has a cause for celebration. You can celebrate a friend for their promotion, baby, wedding, life thing. You can celebrate yourself for keeping the couch warm. It's no easy task, especially if it's a big couch. Or maybe you just want to celebrate living in the year 2022, where you can get the best selection of beer, wine, and spirits delivered from Drizzly in under 60 minutes without leaving said couch. Yes, you can do that because that is the technology we have in 2022. You can get the best selection of beer, wine, and spirits delivered to your doorstep in under 60 minutes with Drizzly. So you're going to do that. You're going to download the Drizzly app, and you're going to go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com, and you're going to get your favorite drinks delivered today. Again, you're going to get that Drizzly app, or you're going to go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com, and you're going to get your favorite drinks delivered today. Again, beer, wine, and spirits delivered to your doorstep in under 60 minutes. What a beautiful thing. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com and get your favorite drinks delivered today.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
Hey, remember how 20 years ago I switched to Progressive? Well, now it's the future, and I used all those savings to buy this new hologram phone. Because, it's the future, and everything is holograms now.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customer surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
So that is Noah. People wanted us to talk about Noah Destiny as well, which is a show that it used to be available for free on YouTube. Let me see if it is still. It looks like it still is for now. So if you want to watch Noah Destiny 2005, it can still be found very easily. One of the all-time great wrestling shows of all time. It's just a fucking tremendous show. It has Misawa and Kawada in the main event, and that's like. Like how many other matches on that show are just like go out of your way to watch shows?
So, yeah, that's an all-time great show. But can I read you Kaito Kiyomiya's? I know you didn't watch any of the N1. I'll read you his tournament. You tell me if they did a good job.
Okay.
So he lost to Jack Morris, and then he lost to Masa Kitamiya. So they did the Gato booking here.
Right. He's got to come up.
He's 0-2.
Yeah.
He beat Nakajima. He beat Masakatsu Funaki. I talked about that match. Funaki was a real piece of garbage at the end of that one. Kinya Okada, who obviously, was the jabroni of the block. He beat Takashi Sugiura. And then to win the block, he beat Satoshi Kojima. And then he beat Hideki Suzuki in the final. Well, what can you say? They did a good job with him.
Yeah, that's solid.
I was critical of the Jack Morris loss. I feel like Jack Morris... There were other people he could have beat to establish him as a guy, right? I saw someone in our Discord suggest Go Shiozaki. That would have been perfect, who, by the way, is back on the shelf with another injury. That guy might be done. I mean, I feel bad for him, but he's over 40 now, constantly injured. He works in a promotion where they legitimately beat the shit out of each other. I worry about Go Shiozaki. I do. But I feel like Jack Morris could have beaten someone else. But at the end of the day, that's a nitpick. Morris looked good on the tour. I feel like that's someone they may have found a diamond in the rough. But yeah, they did a good job. Kiyomiya won, and they booked him well. He beat a lot of people. One match on the N1 final, though, and I know we got a lot to get to. Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf. People should go watch that. That was very much a change of pace for Noah. And those two guys went out there and just did a bunch of... All of it didn't land, but I thought did a great job and earned some more tours. Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf, and their little match that they had. Anyway, so I guess Rich is just putting off this WWE stuff. Rich, I have to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Why you're reluctant to embrace the Triple H era? What's going on, man?
I'm not reluctant.
Everyone
to.
Loves it.
It's new and it's improved from what I've heard. always improving, always newing every single week. So it's always getting new and it's always improving, which is good. I'll be honest, Saturday was a very busy day for me. The entire weekend was very busy for me. I had planned on Monday just being like, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch Clash at the Castle. But then AEW imploded. We were up till 4 a.m. doing our Interaction Live, so that didn't work out well. And then Monday came and went. Tuesday, I was like, all right, I got to sit down and watch the Clash at the Castle. I opened Peacock, I started the file, and then I was just like, I got to do it. And then I started watching stuff for our our new deep dive. I was like, you know what, this will be nice and easy. And then I will watch Clash at the Castle. And then Wednesday came, and here we are today. So it just didn't happen.
The television, don't just trust me.
I'm not going out of my way to watch.
You've been
Monday
doing my
Night
audio.
Raw.
You've been doing audio with me for over a decade, Rich. The TV is so overrated. It's. You would think if you glance on a Twitter feed that these Monday Night Raws are like the second coming of fucking. They're not. This TV is so overrated. I mean, it is slightly better. Like the dumbest, the worst and dumbest shit is no longer on the shows, which is great. But they are dull as dirt. These Triple H TV shows, Raw and Smack, they are just. What's the big angle? What's the big angle going on in WWE right now? Can somebody tell me?
Dexter Loomis is appearing under the ring.
What's the big exciting angle? What's
Braun
the thing?
Strowman is back.
What's the thing you're tuning in for? What's the big there isn't one. What are the great match of the year caliber matches that have been happening on Raw and SmackDown? There are none. I mean, people are just they're creaming their pants over these little 3-star matches on TV like Triple H is giving you what Dynamite's giving you every week, or what fucking, the show, it's so overrated how much better these shows are. I mean, they're a little better because how could they not be? They were as bad as wrestling television could get. I mean, you've been banging that drum. Late era Vince TV was just as bad as any era of bad TNA or the end of WCW.
Yeah. Dying Days, WCW.
That's your comparison that you always make. I don't know if it hit the depths of the worst of TNA. That's might even be a lower.
Some real bad depths in that.
Some of the Raws were though. I mean, Raw was real rough.
They were irredeemably terrible. For a long time.
So it's hard not to be better than that. But and I don't like pissing in people's cornflakes, but this idea that WWE TV is some compelling must-watch shit, it's not. I don't want to watch it anymore. I watched it for a month or 5 weeks, and if I didn't have this job, I'd stop watching again. It's totally overrated how the TV has been better. No doubt about that. As far as this Castle show, similar to SummerSlam in that there were a couple really good matches on it, but there was a lot of stuff in between that is totally forgettable and skippable. Gunther and Sheamus was legitimately a great match. And the main event with Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre was a dreadfully boring match that was perilously close to being a total bomb. I mean, it was bad. They weren't connecting with the crowd. It was slow. It was plodding. It wasn't working. And then they loaded up the back end of the match with all kinds of shenanigans and overbooked stuff. And the kind of stuff that usually hurts a great match actually helped this go from being a terrible match to a fun match. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure.
They saved it with the bullshit. Like Austin Theory came down for his cash in, but before he can cash in, Tyson Fury knocked him out, like from the crowd. And the spot looked really good, right? And then they debuted Solo Sikoa.
Yes. I saw a lot of people excited about Solo Sikoa, even though there has not been one, to my knowledge, intro video or video package about Solo Sikoa. But
well, if you think people are going to be consistent with those kind of takes, I don't know what to tell you.
A lot of people excited about a guy that not many people know about, but.
Now that guy was overdue for a call up, and you knew it was coming. He's legitimately major league. I watching him in NXT, I'm like, this guy needs to be called up because he has the presence and he obviously has the built-in storyline. I think
It makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, I haven't seen the match, but like bringing that guy in to be the next part of the unit, I mean that's perfect. It's ideal. And
I think, yeah, for sure. And
there's enough family members. You could do that every single month for like 2 years if you wanted to. A new family member arrives, and you could come out with 27 people out there. So
Rich, calm down. We don't need Manu back. Calm down. We don't need Manu back.
Who says we? Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket? I.
You know what? The way these people get excited for fucking Top Dollar, maybe they'll get excited for Manu. I don't know. Right. How's that going, by the way? Red Hot Act.
Who was that?
The Hitmakers.
The Hitmakers, yeah.
Or what do they? No, that was their indie.
Hit Row.
Yeah, how they doing?
I imagine quite well on Friday Night SmackDown. So
you bring this guy in, and I think that the crowd popped. But I think before he took the hood off, they just thought it was one of the Usos. Because I don't think that they recognized him, because then he took the hood off, and
they probably still didn't recognize him either.
Once he takes the hood off, he doesn't look a lot like the with the hood on. Like
he looks exactly like an Uso. Yeah,
yes. The bottom half of his face looks like an Uso, but then when he takes the hood off, then you could clearly see it's not an Uso. And I think they thought it was an Uso at first. But a good angle to introduce him, and they did the yanking the ref out of the ring spot. That's my least favorite spot in the history of wrestling. But a lot of people think they did Drew dirty, and a lot of people think that they killed the town with Drew not winning. I don't believe that, because I think the modern WWE fan doesn't really view it through that lens. They're just there to have a good time, and I think that I'm sure they wanted Drew to win, but I think that they're just there to see the show, and I don't agree with those takes. But all the bullshit at the end of that match saved the match. It was not a great match.
I can't lie that 30 minutes 46 second runtime really scared me on that main event. Like, I was going to sit down and say, you know what, I'm at least going to watch this main event before the show starts. And I'll admit, I was doing the show notes here, and I went 30 minutes, man. I know the finish already, like, because I was spoiled on the finish, and I was like, do I really want to invest 30 minutes in this match when I already know the finish?
It was 20 minutes of terrible. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It was dreadfully boring. Nothing happening. The thing about the Roman Reigns 2-year run or whatever is he does not have a lot of great matches. It's the Cesaro match was really great. The Riddle match on TV, I thought
that match was fantastic. Yeah, the Riddle SmackDown match.
That's a really good TV match. The Cesaro match, I thought was, I don't want to say great, but a very good match. Definitely a notebook match. But the early part of the run was a lot of community theater stuff, which was horrid. I mean, just awful. You had the weird Finn Balor thing, right? Where with the heartbeat. You had, you had, some TV squashes that we really can't.
Shit. Yeah, God.
Yeah, and then matches like this that just didn't work, that just weren't, because the style that Roman Reigns is working right now is not conducive. It's not, look, he doesn't have to go out there and have 5-star classics because he's so over. And he works methodically, and he works very deliberately, and he works to his character very well. But he hasn't had, people are going to look back on this title run. WWE is going to play it up like it's one of the great title runs of all time.
Oh, of course, yeah, because lengthwise it is, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they can do with this in the future. But yeah, we as wrestling fans that listen to this show, it's not that much.
There's no meat on the bone. No. It's not a great run, and a lot of the TV has been dreadfully boring. The same, we had a whole year of just the Usos and Roman sitting in a hotel room with Heyman, just with no storyline advancement, same shit every week.
Right. There was the Bryan stuff that was good. There was the WrestleMania match, but yeah, like you said, you kind of mentioned a few of them. Other than that, Cesaro.
And then a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of 3-star matches. I mean,
we talked about the Brock and Roman. I don't know what you call that last man standing match.
That was fun spectacle.
Yeah, I don't know that I could. It's not a match that I think I would ever go back and rewatch and be like, wow, look at this. It was.
Yeah, Roman's not. Listen, this title reign is not setting the world on fire like Flair in '89. And let's be honest. I mean, this isn't Bryan Danielson 06 ROH. I mean, that's not what this is. This isn't Okada, in his big run, or even Go Shiozaki and Noah a couple years ago, where every match during the pandemic was just a great fucking match of the year contender. That's not what this title reign is. Okay, it just isn't. And there's really no way to spin that. It hasn't been great in ring. He hasn't been a serious like wrestler of the year contender during this thing, and he won't be this year. I mean, Seth Rollins is the horse that they're all backing. If you're a big WWE fan, not Roman. I mean, that tells you all you need to know, you know? But anyway, the other match that a lot of people liked was Seth Rollins and Riddle, or Matt. He is Matt Riddle again. So Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. I thought it was pretty good, but it didn't hit that next gear for me. But it was definitely, you know, a solid, watchable pro wrestling match. I just think that Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle should have had a better match than they had. Gunther Sheamus was legitimately great. It was Gunther just with free reign to work his style. And who is a better opponent for that than Sheamus? Sheamus is willing to get the shit kicked out of him, and you know, for a wrestling match. And he got a big standing ovation from the crowd after he lost. So that was by far the best match of the show, and maybe the best match of the entire weekend. You know, it was a really great match. The rest of the show was a whole lot of nothing. Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky, you know, against Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Bianca Belair. Just a little 6-man tag, you know, nothing match. Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler, I thought stunk. That stunk. The story is Morgan is like this plucky underdog, and she's
God. We won that war, by the way. That we don't even need to bring that up. We don't even need to take a victory lap on that one.
Stinks.
That's so right, and we were so right, and nobody cares. So
she cried again. It's like, enough is enough. And it's like the whole story is Baszler's like a bully, and
yeah, that's gonna do wonders. That's gonna go great. So
these submission tactics, and Morgan is trying to learn submissions herself and prove that she can beat.
She's the champion. Just go and beat people's asses. Come on.
And that's what I don't like about it. I don't like champions who are like plucky
learning on the job. No, I don't want you learning on the job. Yeah, I want you. You're the best in the world at what you do.
That's a good, like the Rocky story is great for the come up, right? But if you notice in those movies, he kept losing to these people, and then he would have to come seek revenge. Like, it's like it doesn't work for me when your champion is presented as always the lesser in the match. It just doesn't. I hate the psychology here, and she's not good enough. That's the other thing. Like, good. So I thought that stunk. They're building towards another Ronda match, so that's, you know, Shayna's supposed to be like the stand-in for Ronda for now. So then Liv will go into the Ronda feud with all these new submission skills. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's cornball shit, plus she isn't very good. Then we had Edge and Rey Mysterio and the Judgment Day, and this was the big Dominic turn.
Joe, I have a question to ask you.
Sure, what's your question?
Okay, so the big story here at the end of this match, which I did not see the match, but I am aware of the story, is that the big news is that despite Edge and Rey Mysterio defeating the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor, Dom Mysterio has turned on not only Edge, but his father, Rey Mysterio. So now I ask you, a mulleted Judgment Day member, Dominic Mysterio, do you finally care about Dominic? You have to. This has to be it. This has got to be it. If you don't care now, I'm never going to ask again. This is the last time I'm going to ask you if you care about Dominic. Well,
you know, I'm glad you asked that question. I wasn't sure if you were going to ask that question. Okay.
This is it. And this for the record, for people listening, this is it. If this doesn't make Joe care about Dominic, we're done. I'm never going to ask it ever again. The bit.
I'm not even sure if he's Dominic anymore, because now he's aligned with Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly the Dom. I think he's Subinic.
I was going to say, have they did that yet? Are they? Because that's clearly the implication here. If people have not watched the story, it's that Rhea's stronger and Dom. You know, she put Dom in a bunch of chokeholds, and then he was just like, wait a minute.
So
something's working here. Hold on a minute. I've been putting these chokeholds. I'm getting beaten up by this very strong woman, and I can't lie, it's kind of working. And then he decided, fuck my dad and fuck Edge. I'm in. And now he wears black jeans, and he has slicked hair, I guess. So yeah, I don't know.
He still has the mullet though.
He still has the mullet, unfortunately. But
so are you asking me?
So I'm asking you, Joe.
If I care about
is now a sub. Do you care about Dom Mysterio?
Do I care about Subinic?
Yes.
Oh, I gotta tell you, the answer might surprise you.
Oh, yeah?
I still don't care about Subinic.
Damn it. All right, it's over. It's done. For people asking, it is over.
In fact, Rich,
if this doesn't do it, if the Dom becoming the sub doesn't make you, it's over. I'm never going to ask it ever again. So,
in fact, Rich, I will never care about Subanik.
Shit.
I just can't care. I will never care about George Goulas / David Flair / how is my phone? I feel like I turned this phone off.
To the scoop, at least?
No.
Oh.
No.
No
scoop. Not a fucking scoop. It ruined my bit. I will never care about Subanik or any other bad second generation wrestler. I had the whole list in my head, but now I don't even want to do it.
Nick Goulas. What was the Watts kid? Joel. He didn't wrestle though, right?
No,
right?
Joel isn't the wrestler.
Eric. Yes.
Yeah.
Joel was just a very bad announcer instead.
And then George Goulas is the son.
Oh, well, see, I'm all off.
You got several Von Erichs to choose from.
There's a bevy of Von Erichs, yeah.
It's but Subanik might be the worst of all. I mean, he just doesn't project anything.
Is he better in the sub role? Because you are a man who watches Monday Night Raw and watched Clash of the Castle. Is this the role he was born to play?
He's not born to play anything. He's horrible at everything.
Decent professional wrestler. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio. That gimmick did not work because he's bad. So
no, the only way this could possibly work is if they put him in a leash and collar.
Go for it, right?
And she just drags him around on the leash, and he doesn't ever wrestle. And he's just because once he tries to do anything wrestling related, it's just he has no natural ability at all, and he's almost 30, so it's not like it's ever gonna click. He's worse than Angelo Mosca Jr. He's just the worst. I don't know, he's worse than Tamina. He's worse than Aaliyah. I can't think of another Major League wrestler who's worse than him. He's utterly useless. So to answer your question, no, I do not and will not care about Subanik.
Okay.
Ever.
Well, that for the bit, I declare over. It's over. I will never ask you again if you care about Dominic Mysterio.
How about I just let you know if I decide to care?
Yeah, let me know if anything changes. I'll just assume, and the listeners can just assume that you do not care about Dominic until otherwise referenced.
God,
so.
he fucking stinks.
He just looks like a doofus, too. He just looks like a sack of shit. You know what I mean?
There's nothing he does well in wrestling.
No.
He doesn't look good.
Remember, there was people pretending that he was good. Remember, they're like, he's picking it up pretty quickly. He's 20 years old.
Do you want to know how you know that he fucking stinks? Nobody defends him. That stopped.
Yeah, there was it was after his first match, people were like, pretty surprisingly good. Okay, and yeah, that has all dissipated by March of 2021. Nobody said anything about Dominic Mysterio again, and that
your most ardent WWE defender doesn't defend Dominic.
He has 116 matches under his belt.
It's never going to happen for this guy. He doesn't.
He was trained by Jay Lethal, Lance Storm, Rey Mysterio, and did time at the Performance Center, and that is the result of Jay Lethal, Lance Storm, Rey Mysterio, and whatever the Performance Center could throw at him.
Yeah, but some people just are not born to do this.
No, and it's fine, and that's okay.
His body is all wrong. I'm sure he works out hard. It doesn't show. He's gangly looking. It doesn't. He doesn't have the right kind of body for to be even if he was athletic, I think he'd struggle. He's not athletic. He's an average athlete at best. He technically does things correct because he's got great teachers, I guess, but it never looks good. It never looks crisp. It never looks natural. He can't promo. He doesn't know how to project he doesn't even know how to stand. Just standing in the ring is a struggle for him because he doesn't know how to project as larger than life, or he doesn't have the right mannerisms or facials. He doesn't do anything well. There's not one thing he does well. It's a joke that he has. If I was in that Performance Center or NXT, I'd be so mad that this guy had the father he has and he's on TV and I'm not. There's not one thing he does better than Grayson Waller. Not a single thing.
Oh my God, yeah. Grayson Waller.
Right?
You bring him, like Matty Wahlberg. Before he even came to America for 1 second, he was already 10,000 times better than Dominic Mysterio ever was.
I mean, Grayson Waller, he's not exactly Ricky Steamboat, but there's not a single thing that Dominic does better than him. And he's hardly the only one. You know, there's guys who've been doing it. Braun Breaker's been doing this 6 months or whatever the fuck. There's nothing that Dominic does better than him. Speaking of Braun Breaker, he defeats Tyler Bate to unify the titles at Worlds Collide. Rich, ask me if he grabbed the match by the throat like I asked him.
All right,
to do
you last week said, I want Braun Breaker to grab this match by the throat and prove to us and prove to the world that he belongs and he's the next generation, he's the next top guy. Did Braun Breaker grab this match by the balls?
He did not, but this was probably the best Braun Breaker match on the whole that he's ever had. And he's
Tyler
been in
Bates
there.
fucking tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. This was, I hesitate to call it a carry job, but Tyler Bate, I mean, he was the reason this match was as good as it was. I mean, you have to be honest about it. And, Breaker, it's not as if, again, I don't think he was bad in the match or was a hindrance to the match or anything, but it was very clear who was, driving the cart here, and it was Tyler Bate. But this was the best Braun Breaker match. He's had matches with people like Dolph Ziggler, but I thought that this match was better than the Dolph Ziggler matches. I don't know if I'd go Notebook, but maybe close. Maybe close. And Breaker unifies the titles. NXT UK just got their fucking asses kicked.
I was going to say, I did not see the show, but looking at the results, they did not do well because they ended up losing their women's title, lost their main title. I guess pretty deadly. They used to be, but only like temporarily. So fucking Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs lost their NXT, and Gallus didn't win. So it did not go well. Did not seem like it went well for the folks in NXT UK. But
well, you nailed the women's match because Blair Davenport was in fact there to take the fall.
Oh man, who could have thought?
Miko Satomura.
Yeah.
So Mandy Rose unifies those titles. That's exactly why they made that a three-way. The Carmelo Hayes Ricochet match. So what they did was the mirror image. The kind of matches Ricochet used to have with Will Ospreay.
Right, I do something, you do something, I do something. We're both.
Oh my God, we're exactly the same.
Right,
neither one of
both
us
the most tremendous athletes you've ever seen in your life, and I can't get an advantage, you can't get an advantage. Yeah, type stuff.
Yeah, the mirror image match. So that's kind of what they did there, and it was good. It was clear to me that Ricochet is better than this guy, but that's not going to shock anybody. Hayes kept up for the most part. It was a really good match. They did the finish where, Trick Williams cost Ricochet the match. It was like he distracted him just long enough to where Carmelo Hayes was able to react to a flippy-do, and then Hayes wins the match. It's like clean by heel standards, but not clean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Clean by WWE heel standards. And Hayes is doing a deal where he puts a jersey up in the rafters of each man he defeats on this title run. So, he put up the Ricochet jersey next to the Gargano jersey, next to the, so he's got all the opponents he defeated. I give Hayes more of a chance now that Triple H is in charge. His size would have been a major hindrance with Vince. It won't be as much of a hindrance with Triple H, but I do think he's still going to look small on the main roster. So we'll see how he looks in a big building in a Raw ring next to fucking, I don't know, Sheamus or something. You know what I mean? But I give him more of a chance now. I don't write him off the way I did previously. He was going nowhere with Vince. But yeah, really good match. Notebook match for sure. I liked it better than the main event. And then the other two matches were...
Ricochet's still only 33 years old, by the way. So yeah, there has been maybe 4 or 5 years that feel wasted, but yeah, still only 33 years old.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a little more with him. This is why the WWE TV is so, overrated. Ricochet won a match a couple weeks ago, and people acted like, fucking it's like, well, let's slow down. Let's see if there's a push coming here. And all right, he won a TV match. That's nice. But, people are so eager to crown the new era.
Yeah.
That they haven't taken a step back. Like, the TV's really boring when you take a step back. There's nothing going on. Okay.
Well, you said, what's the central story? What's the hook now that we have? What has happened that's made us all say, well, now you... If someone said, "Hey, why should I tune into Raw?" Like, and you gave them X, like, what is X?
I don't know. There isn't anything.
It's like it's new, it's different, it's improved.
If you listen and pay attention, they say wrestling once or twice an hour, like that. I mean, that's nice. They do little video packages for the Intercontinental title now. That's nice. I'm glad that they want to make that matter. The 24/7 thing seems to just be forgotten. That's great. The worst of the comedy is gone, but there's still bad comedy. The Chad Gable segments, the Dexter Lumis stuff, it's awful. It's embarrassing. So I don't, but you're someone who doesn't watch. Rich, tell me something specific that has buzz on WWE.
Yeah, I really, other than it being new and improved every week, and wow, it's getting better, and from afar, I haven't seen anything that.
All generalities, right? It's never
specific. Wow, this story or that guy or this push. It's all whoa, they're doing new things, or whoa, it's so refreshing. Every episode is refreshing and exciting and new and improved. And yeah, I from afar. I have yet to see, one thing that's like, oh, okay, that's got me interested, or that's got me hooked. Let's be honest, there hasn't been a hook yet. Like, bringing back Karrion Kross and bringing back Braun Strowman and bringing back these guys that I didn't really care for in the first place. Look at me, I haven't gone back yet. I will. I mean, if there's something that hooks me and something that gets me, I'll start watching again. But so far,
that's been the hook, bringing people back.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for me, man.
And the Roman story, which started long before Triple H took over, and that Roman never losing.
Right. And that's I've been there, done that.
H. That's not Triple H. That's the shows aren't. They're boring. They're pretty boring. They're dull. They're just not bad.
Right, and boring. And a lot of people are anticipating boring. A lot of people are happy to have boring. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I got a lot of wrestling in my life. I don't need boring wrestling. So
I'm never excited to tune in, but I force myself to do it. Katana Chance and Caden Carter defeat Doudrop and Nikki Ash, ASH. Not good at all.
I can't imagine. So.
Not good, Rich. Not good. I'm not a fan of Chance or Carter. What do you want me to say? It wasn't good. We had the four-way with Pretty Deadly, Brooks and Jensen, Gallus, and the Creeds. The Creeds, once again, stood out. We kind of talked about this. My big problem with WWE as a whole is everything just feels so inorganic and fake. And that's the one thing that I don't know how Triple H changes that. And I'm not even sure he wants to change that. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Everything feels, I don't know. I watch AEW and it feels like a wrestling show. I watch WWE and everything just feels fake and choreographed and inorganic. And
yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons I don't go out of my way to watch these shows that often.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a big problem.
I try to watch the big shows, but for the most part, a lot of times I'm just like, I don't know.
Like Liv Morgan is not a real human. She's like a cartoon.
Right.
She's a velvet painting of a sad clown. That's such the best description of her.
I love pro wrestling, and there's a lot of pro wrestling for me to watch. There's so much more pro wrestling that I can never, ever, ever watch that I don't really feel like I need to waste my time with something that I don't know what it is, and I don't know that it's pro wrestling. Like
Brooks and Jensen pretending to be cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that's veneer to it.
You know who I like? I like John Moxley coming out there and saying, this shit means everything to me, man.
That's a guy that feels authentic.
Yes, that guy comes out and he runs through a fucking wall, and I want to run through a wall with him. So, yeah.
That feels authentic to me. Doudrop does not. It's just that's the thing I can't get past. But anyway, it was Pretty Deadly. Look, this was one of those typical NXT, especially the new version of NXT matches, where there's just a million people in it doing a lot of stuff. and it's just it kind of like just your eyes are glazed over, and you're like, all right, they're all doing a lot of stuff, but they're just taking turns doing stuff. You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah. So as far as what it sounds like for this week, the weekend, Gunther and Sheamus, I absolutely have to go to my way to watch.
Yeah, you need to watch that.
I forget, what did you say about Rollins and Riddle? Was that a match that...
Rollins and Riddle, most people liked it way more than I did. Okay. I thought it was a good match, but a lot of people think it was a great match.
And then
but here's what you get with Rollins and Riddle, though. Here's what you have to be ready for. Rollins doing all of Randy Orton's moves to tease Riddle, like a lot of mid-match promos at each other. Like, there's a little of that in there that might turn you off.
I don't love that too much. And then Reigns and McIntyre, I know the finish. I saw the finish. I saw a video of the finish. I don't think I need to watch that. I'm not going to spend 30 minutes of my life watching that.
Now, if you saw, that's the perfect kind of match where you just need to watch the YouTube video.
Yeah, that's what I did. I watched a 5-minute YouTube video that showed some highlights, and then I saw the finish, and I went, I think I'm good.
Yeah. I would watch Hayes and Ricochet.
Hayes and Ricochet, okay.
It's not going to... listen, they didn't reinvent the wheel, but you like good wrestling, and that was... it was good wrestling. It was, Ricochet's well-versed in that kind of match. You know what I mean? The mirror image match. So... And the main event, I think, if you're interested in the development of Braun Breaker, and you want to see Tyler Bate with the mothballs wiped off of him, then, I think that's worth a watch too. Everything in the middle is entirely and completely skippable. You don't need to watch.
Okay. Yeah, I might watch Breaker and Bate just to kind of see. It's 17 minutes, and I really do like Tyler Bate. So
Pretty Deadly one with the gimmick finish.
I'm not watching that match.
All right. Just saying.
Don't worry. I'm not going on my own.
They had what was the finish? It was someone came in as I can't even remember now. Someone in the chat helped me out with the so that we could end this godforsaken show.
Worlds collide. Worlds collide. Joe, I do have some news while we wait for that answer there. Royal Rumble to the Alamo Dome will occur at San Antonio's Alamo Dome on January 28th. Are you going to watch World Wrestling Entertainment's The Royal Rumble? No? All right.
I would never skip through a WWE. Come on. No.
Not at the Alamo Dome? You're not going?
No.
You love San Antonio. You love San Antonio.
I love San Antonio.
You know he loves San Antonio.
I'm neutral on San Antonio.
Everyone's neutral. Does anybody truly love San Antonio?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with San Antonio.
Fine.
It was, okay, Damon Kemp, which is the other Steveson.
Yeah, who apparently is far better than the actual Steveson that now is... Hey, what happened to Gable Steveson, by the way?
Well, the rumor is he fucking stinks.
Yeah, that's. The rumor is he stinks and he doesn't like this and they don't like him and nobody likes him and then we're just gonna go away.
So Damon Kemp turned on the Creeds and then Pretty Deadly got the cheap heel win. Those were the final two teams.
Got it.
And they didn't say this. We talked about this on Instant Reaction the other night, but they didn't say this. But it seems like Kemp, and I didn't watch NXT yet this week, but it seems like Kemp might have been the guy who attacked Roddy Strong in the parking lot, because parking lot attacks are back.
Yeah.
So I actually don't mind that. That's like a Triple H trope. It's funny. The parking lot attacks are back. So, San Antonio's fine. You get some good Mexican food out there for sure. I
had some good meals there. I will say that.
Nothing wrong with the Riverwalk. You want to take your fucking wife to the Riverwalk or your girlfriend.
It's a perfectly acceptable, like, just generic Riverwalk. Yeah, you stop at Howl at the Moon and all these generic places that you can go anywhere else in the world but are also here,
Yeah, but there's also some decent restaurants too on the Riverwalk, and there's some really nice hotels you can stay in and things like that. Where the fuck do we stay when we go there? Is it called the George maybe, or is that somewhere else that we stayed? The George the George is like anyone cares where I stay.
What are you talking about? Who cares?
No.
Are they going to give us a plug? Are they going to give us some money? Then don't say their fucking name.
The George is here. That's where we go sometimes. I forget this. I forget the hotel we stay in San Antonio, but it's
great story, Joe. Fantastic story. Thank you so much.
It's one of those old historical hotels. There's a lot of old historical hotels in San Antonio too, where if you're going for a little getaway and a little fucking crate action with the nurse, you go to one.
I'm not going to San Antonio for that. Trust me.
It could be romantic to get away. You stay in a nice hotel that you can't afford. Everyone needs to do that.
I can do that. Yes, I agree with that general idea. I do not agree with doing that in I'm not going to San Antonio to do that. So no.
Well, I live in Texas. Where do you want me to go?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Because I'm like, I'm not going to San Antonio for like a weekend sex romp. It's a very expensive trip. Yeah.
You would do that in fucking Gary, Indiana. I do that. Well, maybe not Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, maybe Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. You find an old fucking, but I forget the name of the.
Well, there's a hotel. If you're ever in the, I'll tell you this. I have once done this at a hotel in Milwaukee, not with the nurse, with the previous girlfriend. The name of the hotel is called the Pfister.
Oh, the Pfister.
The Pfister Hotel. It's a very old. Look it up. You can look it up on your own. The Pfister Hotel, and that's where me and the Detroit Pistons stayed at one time. So. That's what I rode an elevator with Ben Wallace. So anyway, that's the end of that. There's
a famous hotel in Dirty Jersey called the Loop Inn.
Yeah, okay.
Off of Route 1 in Rahway, right by Rahway Prison, and
Janelle ever been there or what?
I promise you that Joey Janela has been to the Loop Inn. There's no way he hasn't been. But it's famous for its jungle room, which is everything that you're imagining in your head right now.
Yeah.
Vines from the ceiling that you could swing off of like Tarzan. Fucking, a bathtub shaped like a fucking moat with fucking leaves in it and shit. Like, yeah, it's
that sounds kind of awesome. Yeah, so it's actually funny. We were looking at this is ridiculous, and then we'll sign off in a second. We're looking at a hotel. We were going to some random place in like Wisconsin, and we were looking at hotels. And I found this one hotel, and it's like, it's affordably priced or whatever. So I click in at the rooms, and they're all like themed rooms. It's like, it was like, this, like you said, the jungle room and the captain's office or something like that, or Caesar's Palace, and it's all like these weird. And I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. I showed the nurse, and I'm like, it's ridiculous. She's like, it's kind of fun. So she was into it. We ended up not booking it because the only weird one that was available was like Strains. But you're right. It did seem to get her a little excited to take a romp at the Caesar's Palace. It looked horrific. Like, do not bring a black light to that room for sure. I would. That might be a. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know if I would feel comfortable getting it on in one of those rooms, but
you almost got a little Subinic action there.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I can't find this fucking hotel that I stay in. It's probably better that people don't know where I stay in.
That probably
track me down and kill me.
Yeah.
So. What do we got? Are we done with
the Alamo
this?
fucking stinks, though, by the way. Do not go to the Alamo.
No, the Alamo definitely stinks.
Well, let me just put it on the record. If you're going to go to San Antonio, go to the Riverwalk, eat some delicious Mexican food, buy a lucha mask from one of the street vendors. Do not go to the Alamo. Or, you know what? Walk near the Alamo and play the game of, am I at the Alamo or am I not at the Alamo? Because that's the game I played. Is I walked around, and I said, well, that can't be it. The Alamo's got to be somewhere around here. And then I was told, no, that's the Alamo. And I went, oh. And then I turned around and went back. So
it's awful.
It's the smallest, most insignificant thing you will ever see in your life. It is so. I walked by and said, well, that has to be a reproduction of the Alamo. That can't possibly be the Alamo. No, it was the Alamo.
To be fair, it's just a fucking fort.
I mean, I get it. It's smaller than you even think it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's so small.
It's just a fort.
And there's just people walking around it and just kind of gallivanting around it. And you're like,
and for such a historical building, they don't protect it very well. You could just touch the walls.
I just walked in. I was walking around. That's why I thought that this can't possibly. I thought this was all right, well, pay your admission here. But if you want to see what the Alamo looks like, walk around this place. And I'm like, oh, okay.
No. Yeah, it's well, there's that whole area you can walk around behind the Alamo where allegedly, the guys all hung out, Davy Crockett and those little motherfuckers.
I don't care.
Who else was at the Alamo?
Thunder Rosa.
Jim Bowie, was he there? The Bowie knife guy?
Shawn Michaels, Jose Lothario, and Thunder Rosa, I believe we're all.
All right. Yeah, I guess we're done, right?
Yeah, I got nothing else for you. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So The Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee, though, if you're trying to. I believe it's haunted, Joe, if you ever want to go.
I don't fuck with haunted hotels.
Yeah, I'd stay away from the Pfister Hotel then in Milwaukee. So
no, I don't fuck with that. I mean, I don't necessarily believe, but I don't not believe either.
That's where I'm at. Yeah. Hey, I hate to. This is more of a Halloween show, but I'm exactly where you're at. Like, I don't think I believe in ghosts, but I don't want to tempt fate. I don't want to tempt fate, just in case. Just in case.
I don't want to be made to believe in ghosts.
Yes. I like where I'm at right now. So.
Yeah. I'm in a good space with that, and I don't want to change that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So, all right, that is it for the Flagship Podcast. Instant Reaction Live. If you want even more about this whole AEW situation, that was recorded, streamed live on Sunday night. So we'll review all of All Out during that show. We went, I think, 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2.5 hours or something insane. Talked about the CM Punk presser. Bunch of other stuff available there at flagshippatreon.com. Also, flagshippatreon.com, a new match of the week. Just a totally random choice by you, Joe. Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart from Survivor Series. Just a spin of the wheel, and that's what it came up with. A famous match from Survivor Series 1997, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. A new episode of Goldberg 173-1 just dropped. New Joe Eats just dropped, so plenty of available for you at flagshippatreon.com, $5 tier. And the $10 tier as well. So voicesofwrestling.com for the rest of website content that we mentioned. And that's it for us. So for Joe, I'm Rich. We'll talk to you next time on the Flagship Podcast. Take care.
Waiting for this light to turn green. I'm headed to work for a boss so mean. I'm gonna be late. She's gonna be...
There are some things we should do alone, like sing in your car.
If this light doesn't turn, I'm gonna scream.
But when you gamble, you should always do it with others, because gambling with friends helps keep things in check. So go to keepitfunohio.com for more tips like this. Keep it fun, keep it social, but your singing? Maybe keep that to yourself.